porcelain bottle and smiled fiercely. I never give evil people a second chance. When you set your sights on her, you should have expected the outcome today. You can't kill me. He wanted to step back, but his legs couldn't move. Murder is illegal. What you did is not enough to kill you 1,000 times. Who doesn't know that he abducted Hyuni here to do something improper? If a woman's reputation is tarnished, can she still survive? Thinking of this, Shang Ruai stepped on his heart. Du Sheng screamed in pain, and Shang Ruai threw the pill in the porcelain bottle into his mouth. Cough, cough, cough. Du Sheng scratched his throat with his hands, trying to spit out the pills. Don't waste your energy. My pills melt in your mouth. There is no possibility of spitting them out. Shang Ruai sneered. What is this? What did you give me to eat? You are the first to experience my special poison. Shang Ruai kicked him in the stomach, causing him to grimace in pain. Just as he was about to speak, he felt like there were thousands of bugs gnawing in his stomach. Bugs. You gave me bugs. Hee hee. Shang Ruai sneered. Bugs? That's too good for you. The next moment, he felt as if his internal organs had shifted. Ah! He shouted, his eyes rolled back, and he fainted. Yunqi, who was standing behind her, couldn't help swallowing his saliva. This prince's wife is really too tough. Take him away. Shang Ruai said in a cold voice. Where to take him? Shang Ruai smiled. Of course, to your prince's farm. Shang Ruai walked to the side of Du Sheng's fat body, with a smile on her lips. I've heard that your prince is quite experienced in interrogation, and I believe the punishments are many. Just take him there, and take a good look. Hiss. Yunqi looked at Du Sheng, who was unconscious on the ground, and felt a little sympathy. He was tortured in the hands of the prince's wife, and it would be worse than death to fall into the hands of their prince. Yes, sir. Yunqi stepped forward, picked up Du Sheng on the ground, and flew away. The commotion at Tianqi Tea House was so loud that it soon attracted the police. What's going on? The servant saw the official and crawled to him. Sir, help. Help. What happened? Sir, a group of thieves suddenly rushed into the shop and smashed our tea house into this state without saying a word. You see, the injuries on my body are all caused by them. Sir, you must help me. Who are the thieves? A man's voice sounded. Ling Feng walked out of the crowd. If you hadn't robbed the woman in broad daylight, would they have come to you? Ling Feng's words stunned the servant. Then he shouted loudly. What do you mean by robbing a woman? What are you talking about? We don't understand. TSK, you are still stubborn. Ling Feng sneered. How many people saw you dragging a girl into Tianqi Tea House along the way? It's just that they didn't dare to speak out, because of your power. Ling Feng bowed to the leading official. I saw it with my own eyes. They took the woman away from the front of the restaurant, and the person who took her away was... Before he finished speaking, he heard a tiger roar. Ah! A huge white tiger appeared on the street. Ah! Help! Tiger! Tiger! The sudden change made everyone present stunned. The white tiger was holding a fat man in its mouth. The man was wearing a purple robe, but his face was not clear. The tiger's body was much larger than all the tigers, and it didn't feel tired holding a person in its mouth. That's it. That's shopkeeper Do. A man said, when I went to the tea house to buy tea this morning, he was wearing a purple robe. So, this boy is lying? But it is true that someone smashed the Tianqi tea house. The white tiger glared at the people, and no one dared to step forward. The white tiger walked towards the city gate in full view of everyone. A yamen runner drew his bow and arrow, and the next moment the arrow flew out. Zhang Wenyu wanted to stop it, but it was too late. Originally thought that the arrow would definitely hit the white tiger, who would have thought that it seemed to have eyes on its back, and its body moved slightly, without even turning its head, and the arrow shot at the person in its mouth. The person in its mouth trembled for a moment, and then there was no movement. Zhang Wenyu was shocked and turned around and kicked the yamen runner on the leg. Du Sheng is the brother-in-law of the Minister of Industry. When he came this time, the Minister of Industry specifically mentioned it to him and asked him to help. The Minister of Industry had done him a favor, so he naturally had to help with this little thing. But now, not only did he not take care of him, but his own men shot him with an arrow. Zhang Wenyu looked at the direction where the white tiger left, and his heart sank. The white tiger might not have bitten him to death, but that arrow must have taken his life. However, where did this white tiger come from? How could such a ferocious beast suddenly appear in this county?
Check.
Where did this white tiger come from?
Yes.
Ling Feng narrowed his eyes when he saw this. Shang Ruoyi took advantage of the chaos to leave the tea house and took a detour to the dense forest outside the city. When the white tiger saw her, it immediately let go of the person in its mouth and ran to her side. Shang Ruoyi rubbed its head and put it into the space. As for the man who had already died on the ground, Shang Ruoyi looked at the blood flowing from his legs, thinking that wild wolves would drag him away and eat him soon. When she arrived at the farm on the outskirts of the city, Yunqi had already put Du Sheng in the dungeon. At this time, He Jingheng had woken up. When did you wake up?
Just now.
He Jingheng smiled. I heard that you just showed the ring. Shang Ruoyi nodded, took out the ring, and put it on the bedside. Give it back to you. What's wrong? He Jingheng frowned slightly. Don't like it?
Yeah.
Why don't you like it? He Jingheng was a little puzzled. Who in the world is not keen on power? Who doesn't want to hold everything in this world in their hands? Why is she different? Everything I want, I will get by myself. Whether it's money, power, or people's hearts, I will get all these things I want by myself. Recalling Yun Tian's vigilance and reluctance when he looked at her, Shang Ruoyi became more determined in her thoughts. You and I are husband and wife are one. Why should we separate you and me? He Jingheng said in a low voice. Husband and wife. Shang Ruoyi was stunned. Is this what He Jingheng could say? Just as she was stunned, she suddenly found that her hands were held by a pair of warm, big hands. He Jingheng smiled faintly. In fact, I have wanted to say this to you for a long time, but every time I see my legs, I wonder if I will drag you down, will you? You want to say whether I will dislike you, right? Shang Ruoyi's blunt words made He Jingheng choke. He looked at Shang Ruoyi and sighed. Some words must be said. Will you suffocate to death if you don't say it? At first, I only saw the eldest daughter of the Xiangfu. I knew she was my future wife since she was a child. Although she was really ugly, I had to nod my head and agree to it because of my family's order. When I learned that the engagement with her was cancelled, I was very happy. But I still remember clearly what you said when you married me. Shang Ruoyi smiled and said, You are just a concubine's daughter. It is a blessing from your previous life that you can marry into the palace of my Dinghua. If it were not for the imperial edict, I would never marry you. Her eyes fell on He Jingheng's face. Didn't you say that? Cough, cough, cough. He Jingheng couldn't help but began to cough. Can you please stop interrupting me? Shang Ruoyi pouted and said no more. Every moment since you entered the palace, someone has been watching you. This is my arrangement. I am worried that you are Shang Yan's spy next to me. In fact, Shang Ruoyi knew about this. With her keen perception, how could she not know that someone was watching her in secret? It's just that the person watching her was a woman, and she didn't have any malicious intent, so she didn't say anything. I know that the exile of the He family has nothing to do with you. It was the emperor and Shang Yan's party that caused it. He Jingheng said in a deep voice, You are just a chess piece thrown out by them. But none of them thought that this chess piece would have such great ability. I believe that the emperor and Shang Yan must be regretting it now. On the way to exile, you mentioned divorce many times. He Jingheng rubbed her hand gently with his thumb. This is the first time I felt what fear is. I was afraid that you would really leave. At this point, he couldn't help but smile. It is said that heroes are hard to resist beautiful women. I used to sneer at the sentence, but now I finally understand the taste of it. I have led troops to fight for several years and almost died on the battlefield many times. Even so, I have never experienced what fear is. Shang Ruoyi couldn't help laughing when she heard him say this. What are you laughing at? Your Highness, where have you read all these years? Why are you so dumb? Shang Ruoyi's words made He Jingheng stunned for a moment. What do you mean? You've been talking so much. Don't you just want to say that I like you? He Jingheng's lips curled slightly after hearing her say this. What did you say? I didn't hear clearly. I like you. Her voice was much louder than before. Yunqi and Yuntian just walked to the door and heard this. Yunqi laughed, and Yuntian was dumbfounded. Is Aunt Master Lingjun a man? What kind of lewd words was he saying to the prince? He Jingheng's next words made Yuntian even more terrified. Well, I like you too. Shang Ruai heard him say this, and realized that he said it on purpose, just to hear those words from her mouth. Her pretty face was slightly red. Fortunately, the mask was blocking it. Otherwise, He Jingheng would definitely notice her thoughts. Just then, He Yuni came over. Where's my brother? Miss, the prince is inside. He Yuni stepped forward and knocked on the door. Brother, can I come in?
Come in.
He Jingheng's voice was no longer as gentle as before. Shang Ruai glared at him. Yuni is your sister after all. Why do you speak in such a tone? Humph, if she hadn't taken the initiative to not let the secret guards follow, would such a thrilling incident have happened today? If it had been a little later, the consequences would have been disastrous. Hearing the sound of the door, Shang Ruai immediately pulled her hand out of He Jingheng's hand. Seeing this, He Jingheng's face sank. Looking at He Yuni, who walked into the inner room, his expression became even colder. He Yuni walked into the inner room with her fingers twisted together, tears welling up in her eyes. Brother, sister-in-law, go back and reflect on your mistakes. You are not allowed to come out without my permission. He Jingheng said angrily, what I said to you before is useless. Don't you think about it? If something really happens, what will you ask your grandmother and mother to do? What will you do yourself? He Yuni lowered her head and listened to He Jingheng's scolding. Okay. Shang Ruai walked to He Yuni. You can't blame her entirely. If I hadn't helped you heal your leg today, she wouldn't have to go to the street by herself, and she wouldn't have been targeted by that group of people. Hearing this, He Yuni looked at Shang Ruai gratefully, sister-in-law. Shut up and don't cry. He Jingheng had just finished yelling when he heard Shang Ruai hissing beside him. What's wrong? He asked hurriedly, without caring about scolding. Shang Ruai spread out her hand. A blood mark appeared on her palm. Maybe it was done accidentally when I was dealing with Du Sheng. He Jingheng heard this and transferred all his anger to Du Sheng. Someone come. Yuntian and Yunqi hurried into the room. Prince, cut off the hands and feet of that Du Sheng and throw him into the jungle to feed the dogs. Yes. They were about to turn around and leave when they heard Shang Ruai say softly. Wait. Yunqi turned around immediately. What do you want, sir? Yuntian cupped his hands and said nothing. Du Sheng's brother-in-law is the Minister of Works, a member of Shang Yin's faction. You just let him go. It's a bit of a waste. Hearing her say this, He Jingheng knew that she had a new idea, and said with a smile, Then tell me, what should we do? Of course, we should make the best use of everything. Shang Ruai said to He Jingheng, the Minister of Works has many concubines. He doesn't love his wife very much, and he can even be said to hate her, but he is very good to this brother-in-law. Why do you think that is? Haha, the world is bustling. All for profit. The world is bustling. All for profit. He can treat this brother-in-law so well, there must be a conflict of interest between the two. He Jingheng looked at her with appreciation. Smart. Seeing this, Yuntian lowered his head even more. The prince looked like he had feelings for this young Master Lingjun. Yunqi whispered, Prince, do we have to torture him to extract a confession?
Not only that.
Shang Ruai said in a cold voice, we also have to let the Minister of Works know that he was captured by a mysterious man, so that he will be worried and afraid. Yes. After Yunqi and Yuntian went out, He Yuni was looking at Shang Ruai in shock. Sister-in-law, you are so smart. Shang Ruai took off the mask on her face and smiled. What's the good of becoming as calculating as me? Doesn't she want to live an easy life? It's reality that won't let her live like this. Are you okay? If not, I'll have someone send you back. Yes, of course I am. He Yuni looked at He Jingheng and moved her lips. After a while, she whispered, Brother, who is in the innermost room? He Jingheng frowned. What's wrong? Is it Daddy? He Jingheng looked into her eyes and saw that she was determined. He sighed yes. Hiyuni's tears fell instantly. Is Daddy injured? Can I go and see him? Shang Ruai heard this and whispered, the prince's injury is a bit serious. It's not appropriate to disturb him. I'll just take a look, I won't make any sound. Hiyuni grabbed Shang Ruai's arm. Sister-in-law, please, just let me take a look. Hiyuni, have you had enough of the trouble? He Jingheng said angrily. Hiyuni was startled. Although her brother was strict with her on weekdays, he had never called her names so angrily. Shang Ruai whispered, you can take a look from a distance at the door. Hiyuni nodded and was dragged out by Shang Ruai. Yun Tianyan saw the door open. Hiyuni was holding someone's arm, and the owner of that arm was the one who just said to their prince in the room that I like him. Yun Tian's eyes were fixed on Hiyuni's hand holding Shang Ruai. He wanted to pierce a hole in it. This Master Lingjun, are you the prince's man? Why do you turn around and pull with the young lady of their mansion, and it's unclear? Hiss. Could it be that he is a man of both sexes? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but shudder. Yunchi looked normal and went to meet him. Miss, Master Lingjun, I'll take you to the backyard. You don't have to follow.
Yes.
The two came to the backyard. Shang Ruai dismissed the servants and said to Hiyuni, the prince has a lot of wounds on his body, and you have a lot of dust on your body, which may cause infection, so take a look from a distance. A man with gray hair was lying on the couch. Although Hiyun's face was so thin that he looked unrecognizable, Hiyuni recognized him as her father at a glance. After all, in the entire Dingwa Palace, her father was the one who loved her the most. Tears instantly flowed from her eyes. When Shang Ruai took her away from the backyard, she was crying like a tearful person. Sister-in-law, how is my father? Shang Ruai clenched her fists secretly, but pretended to be relaxed on her face. They are just superficial injuries. Don't worry. It will be fine. Shang Ruai thought for a moment and said, Yuni, this place is your brother's last stop. If it is exposed, the Dingwa Palace will be considered by the world to be plotting a rebellion. So the moment you leave here today, you must forget everything that happened today, including meeting your father, and you must not tell anyone. Hiyuni hesitated for a moment and asked, can't you tell Grandma and Mother? Mother always cries secretly at night, and Grandma too.
No.
Shang Ruai said firmly, it may not be a good thing if more people know about this. Have you forgotten what the imperial edict said when we were exiled? If we find Prince Dingwa, no matter where he is, we will kill him on the spot. Shang Ruai's words made Hiyuni feel that her breathing was very difficult. After a long while, she finally recovered. I know, sister-in-law. Today you were frightened. I will send a few more people to take you back. Shang Ruai waved to Yunchi, who was standing in the distance. Young master, find a few people to take Miss back. Hearing her say this, Yunchi hurried down to make arrangements. At this moment, Yuntian glanced in her direction, and seeing Hiyuni holding her hand, he couldn't help but frowned. This Master Lingjun is really too tactless. After seeing Hiyuni off, Shang Ruai returned to Hiyuan's room. Hiyuan had woken up at this time. In the past few days, he has been awake more and more. Shang Ruai came to the bedside, looked at Hiyuan, whose eyes were still empty, and sighed slightly. At this moment, she suddenly had an idea. If the spiritual spring water was dripped directly into his eyes, would it have any effect? Thinking of this, he took advantage of the moment when Hiyuan opened his eyes and dripped 2 drops of spiritual spring water into his eyes. She watched the changes in his eyes carefully. While there was no one around, she took out an extremely small but very delicate machine from the space. It was a laboratory specially used for testing check the eyes. She placed the machine above Hiyuan's eyes and observed carefully. After a while, she was pleasantly surprised to find that the necrotic tissues began to revive. This discovery made her very happy. This shows that his eyes can be cured. Following the same method, she dripped spiritual spring water into the other eye and both ears, waiting for them to recover slowly. Hiyuan has lost his eyesight and hearing, so he still doesn't know where he is. But he can feel that his body is gradually getting better, so he knows that someone is treating him. So when Shang Ruai did these things, he didn't resist. In the evening, Shang Ruai returned to the He family. I thought they had gone back to rest, but I didn't expect that the He family gathered in the main hall, waiting for her news. Seeing her come back, they hurriedly called her over. The old princess asked anxiously, "How is Jingheng? Did the miracle doctor cure him? Why didn't he come back with you?" Qin was also very anxious. "What's going on? Why did you come back by yourself? Where is Jingheng? When will he come back?" Except for the old princess and Qin, the third wife, Aunt Zhao and others were also waiting for her answer. Shang Ruai smiled. "The miracle doctor is very skilled. Jingheng's leg can definitely be cured. Now he is still recuperating with the miracle doctor. He said that he will come back naturally when he is well." "Oh, that's how it is." Qin's heart was slightly relieved. "Did the miracle doctor say when he can be like a normal person?" Shang Ruai smiled. "The miracle doctor didn't tell me the specific date." When Aunt Zhao heard that He Jingheng's leg could actually be cured, her heart sank. If He Jingheng was really cured, what would happen to everything in the He family and them? If Shang Ruai's belly was more successful and gave birth to a son, they would never be able to turn things around. With Shang Ruai's assurance, everyone in the He family was excited. Finally, after being here for so long, this was the happiest thing for all the He family members except Aunt Zhao. In the next few days, Shang Ruai went to the farm every day to change the medicine for them. Ever since He Jingheng expressed his feelings to her, he was no longer as serious as before. Every time he saw Shang Ruai, he had a smile on his face, and even Yuntian, who had been with him for many years, found it a little unbelievable. On this day, she took out the spiritual spring water and poured it on the cut on his leg. He Jingheng whispered, "Your potion is really magical. Compared with the golden medicine, your potion can make the wound heal faster." Shang Ruai's expression did not change. She smiled and said, "Didn't I tell you that this is an exclusive secret recipe, passed down to girls only? Don't come to me to test the waters. I won't tell you." He Jingheng nodded, with a smile on his lips. "In order to prevent your secret recipe from being lost, it seems that we must have a daughter." Shang Ruai stopped moving her hand suddenly, looking at He Jingheng in surprise. What nonsense are you talking about? Isn't it?" He Jingheng had just held her hand when he heard Yuntian's voice from outside the door. "Prince." He Jingheng looked at the door with anger in his eyes and said angrily, "You'd better have a reason to come and report." Yuntian didn't understand and whispered, "Just now the doctor came to report that the prince seemed to have a sense of sound and light." Before Yuntian finished speaking, the door of the room opened. He Jingheng sat in a wheelchair. "Can you say it again?" "The doctor said that the prince seemed to have a sense of sound and light." He Jingheng looked at Shang Ruai in surprise. "Could it be that you use some secret method that can only be passed on to girls but not boys?" Shang Ruai nodded, and her thin lips under the mask slightly curled. "Of course." At this time, in the capital, in Lanqing Palace, concubine Zhao was eating snacks elegantly, and below her was kneeling Dr. Su, who had just examined the queen's pulse.
"Tell me."
"Dr. Su, is the queen's baby a prince or a princess?" Dr. Su lowered his head and said softly, "The queen is weak, and the dragon fetus is also weak. It is still impossible to determine whether it is a prince or a princess."
"Oh."
Concubine Zhao smiled. As the chief physician of the Imperial Medical Bureau, Dr. Su must have superb medical skills. How can he not even make this diagnosis? "Reporting to your majesty, the dragon fetus is weak. I really can't tell. Please forgive me." Upon hearing this, concubine Zhao nodded. "Okay, go down." Dr. Su was as if he had been pardoned and hurried out with the medicine box. Xiaorao handed her the tea. "Your Majesty, in my opinion, this Dr. Su is just trying to deceive us. Even if the dragon fetus is weak, it can still be distinguished as a boy or a girl. As a woman who has given birth to a child, how could this trick of Dr. Su escape her eyes? It doesn't matter if he doesn't want to say it. In this huge palace, are you worried about not being able to find someone to investigate this matter?" Xiaoyao whispered, "Your Majesty, in fact, even if the queen gave birth to a prince, what can it do? His Highness is already the crown prince and is the most outstanding heir to the throne among many princes and princesses. Does the queen have to take away the crown prince's position if she gives birth to a prince? The legitimate son of the empress is always different from the illegitimate son. She put down the teacup in her hand and said lightly, "Is Xin Shi from the Duke of Jinggua's mansion here?" Xiaorao nodded. Miss Shen has entered the palace and is walking towards our launching palace. As soon as the voice fell, she heard the palace servants outside the door come to report, "His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has arrived. Please come in." Since the outbreak of the plague, the Crown Prince has been busy with government affairs and has not come to pay his respects to her for a long time. "Your son pays respects to your mother. Hurry up." Concubine Zhao stepped forward and said distressfully, "You must be exhausted these days. Your face has become thinner. Thank you for your concern. Your son is fine." He Lingxing smiled and said, "That's the best." At this time, the voice of the palace servant sounded again. "Miss Xin Shi of the Duke of Jinggua's mansion has arrived." Xin Shi walked in gracefully and greeted politely. Concubine Zhao was very satisfied to see the two standing side by side. Only such a proud girl could be worthy of her son. "Shi, I heard that you can play the pipa?" Concubine Zhao smiled. "I only know some trivial tricks, so I won't show off in front of your pipa skills." Xin Shi's pretty face was slightly red, very moving. However, He Lingxing's mind was not on her at all. At this time, a guard came forward and whispered a few words in his ear. He Lingxing's face suddenly became very ugly. He hurriedly stood up and bowed his hands and said, "Mother, I still have some things to deal with, so I will leave first." After the words fell, he turned around and left without waiting for Concubine Zhao to say anything. Xin Shi didn't even get to say a word to him. She even dressed up specially today. "What's going on?" He Lingxing asked in a deep voice. "How can the plague spread so quickly?" "I don't know either. The letter from Shangnian has been sent to the emperor in an expedited manner over a distance of 800 miles. Emperor Tianshun looked at Shangnian's handwritten letter and was so angry that he almost overturned the table in the imperial study. "What's going on? Massacre?" Emperor Tianshun threw the memorial to the ground and said angrily, "The censor of Liangzhou City actually concealed the truth and did not report it. Now the people of the entire Liangzhou City are suffering from the plague."
"Kill him."
"Your Majesty, the censor of Liangzhou City has died of the plague." At this time, the old Duke Xingguo stepped forward and whispered, "Your Majesty, now all the people in Liangzhou City are infected with the plague, and people in other cities are in panic. The top priority is to appease the people and solve the plague." "Nonsense, you don't need to say it. I also know what I need to do now. Only by letting the most important people in the court go can we play a calming role." He cupped his hands and said, "I think the prince should go."
"What?
"The prince?"
No."
Emperor Tianshun refused without a second thought. "The crown prince is the future master of Tianshun appointed by me. How can he take risks?" At this time, a university scholar stepped forward and whispered, "Your Majesty, I think what the Duke of Jingguo said is right. We really need a person of extremely noble status to go. Since you think the crown prince is not suitable, how about the fourth prince?" His words made Emperor Tianshun silent. The fourth prince was born to him and concubine Xu, who was an extremely quiet woman. The fourth prince inherited his mother's character, not fighting or competing, and only reading the books of sages. Regardless of age or status, the fourth prince seems to be the best candidate. Emperor Tianshun nodded. "That's great. Let the fourth prince go to Liangzhou City to meet Shangnian, and then allocate a group of imperial doctors to go together, and there are 100,000 taels of disaster relief funds."
"Yes."
The news that the fourth prince was about to leave for the epidemic area soon spread throughout the palace. Haha, this mother concubine is not favored, so naturally the child she gave birth to is not favored either. When concubine Lin heard the news, she came to Launching Palace and said with a smile, "The concubine has always been aloof and not close to us. The emperor dislikes her very much. It is said that he has not visited her palace for half a year." That's right. Not everyone is as blessed as the concubine to give birth to such an outstanding child as His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Concubine Li sneered. Although they are all princes, the fourth prince is far inferior to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. So the emperor sent the fourth prince to the epidemic area this time, concubine Lin said in a low voice, holding the first-hand information. My lady, I was originally serving the emperor in the imperial study, but when those ministers came, the emperor ordered me to hide behind the screen. I heard with my own ears that when the Duke of Jingwa suggested that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince go, the emperor refused without a second thought. When it came to the fourth prince, the emperor agreed, without the slightest hesitation. Hearing this, concubine Zhao curled her lips and smiled. Now, the emperor's suspicion should be gone. Emperor Tianshun was suspicious by nature, and he began to be suspicious of her ever since he knew that she frequently summoned Shinshui to the palace to accompany her. She had specially sent someone to write a letter to the Duke of Xinghua, asking him to find as many faults as possible with the prince in front of the emperor, and to create the impression that the Duke of Xinghua's mansion had some complaints about the prince. This will dispel the emperor's suspicion. The Duke of Xinghua also had this intention. It is a great honor for the Duke of Xinghua's mansion to be favored by the crown prince and concubine Zhao. If she could become the crown princess, when the crown prince ascends the throne in the future, Shinshui would be the legitimate queen. Their Xinghua mansion has made great achievements in battle, and with the queen firmly in the harem, their Xinghua mansion can be guaranteed to have at least 100 years of glory.
Why not?
If she gives birth to another legitimate son, he will be the crown prince. By then, wouldn't the entire Tianshun be firmly in the hands of their Xinghua mansion? The emperor's edict was quickly delivered to the fourth prince's mansion. He Lingqi looked at the imperial edict on the table with a mocking smile on his face. Your Highness. He Lingqi's bodyguard Inran said in a low voice, the emperor has really given you this difficult task. He Lingqi sneered. It is said that the emperor's will is unpredictable. Even I can't guess what my father is thinking, but He Jingheng always guesses it right. Is this He Jingheng a worm in the emperor's stomach? Inran had just finished speaking when he heard He Lingqi say in a cold voice, he is the master. How can you call him by his name? Even if he is exiled, his ability is still above mine. Although he was reluctant to admit it, the facts were there. From childhood to adulthood, he had had several confrontations with He Jingheng, both openly and covertly, and he was defeated every time. Later, he joined forces with other princes, but was still no match for He Jingheng. Perhaps it was precisely because of this that his father was so wary of the Dinghua Palace and wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible. I know I was wrong, and I overstepped my authority. He Lingqi glanced at him and said, this will not happen again. Yes. He Lingqi held the imperial edict in his hand, a sharp look in his eyes. He walked towards his mother's palace. The news that the emperor sent the fourth prince to Liangzhou city quickly spread throughout the harem. Xu Fei naturally also got the news. She looked anxious and was about to send someone to invite the fourth prince over. At this time, a palace maid came in. Your Majesty, the fourth prince is here. Please invite him in. Concubine Xu stood up from her chair. The fourth prince walked in, and before he could even salute, he was helped up by concubine Xu. Seeing the anxiety in her eyes, He Lingqi felt warm in his heart. Mother. As soon as he spoke, he saw Xu Fei's tears falling. Lingqi, good boy, it's mother's fault. If mother was as favored by your father as concubine Zhao, you wouldn't need Liangzhou. He Lingqi smiled. Mother, don't blame yourself. This is not your fault. Whether you are favored or not, your son will definitely go. He was of the same age as Crown Prince He Lingsheng, and concubine Zhao had long wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible. This completely cut off his possibility of inheriting the throne. Xu Fei's father was a grand scholar, and his students were all over the world. Born into a scholarly family, she never learned how to flatter or curry favor. The literary character of a scholar who is well-read and elegant is fully embodied in her, a woman. Xu Fei was not beautiful, and her figure was not as graceful as that of other women. But she only needs to stand there, and she will be like a proud plum blossom, cold and aloof. Emperor Tianshun was attracted by her temperament at that time, and despite the fact that she was already engaged, he insisted on taking her into the harem. Xu Fei's grandfather was a man who valued his promises the most. He felt uneasy about the cancellation of the engagement and died of excessive worry not long after. Because of this, concubine Xu's resentment towards Emperor Tianshun became even more serious. After giving birth to the fourth prince, she became increasingly cold towards Emperor Tianshun. Love is nothing but a passing cloud to the emperor. There are so many young concubines in the palace, one after another, and which one of them is not respectful and fawning to him? How could he hang himself on a tree? Soon, he forgot about concubine Xu. Upon seeing this, concubine Xu took the opportunity to propose moving to Yongfu Palace. Yongfu Palace is the palace farthest from Emperor Tianxuan's sleeping palace. Seeing that she was stubborn, Emperor Tianshun immediately nodded in agreement. Concubine Zhao felt slightly relieved when she saw that she had fallen out of favor. Otherwise, with the power of concubine Xu's mother's family, she might not win if she really competed for favor. "Mother, I came here today just to reassure you." Healing Qi smiled. "I got a magic medicine. After taking it, I will not be infected with the plague."
Oh.
Upon hearing this, concubine Xu exclaimed, "Is it really so magical?" Ling Qi poured out the black pills in the porcelain bottle and whispered, "I will leave these 2 pills for you, mother, in case of emergency." Concubine Xu looked at the 2 pills in his palm with a slight flash in her eyes. His eyes fell on Ling Qi's face, and he understood. "Ling Qi, have you really thought it through?" Ling Qi nodded. "Mother, I have always kept your teachings in mind and wanted to stay away from the court disputes and be a leisurely king, but things did not go as I wished. Even though I have avoided the mansion and not left, those people still refuse to let me go." He rolled up his sleeves, revealing the scars of varying depths on his arms. "Over the years, they have harmed me so many times, openly and covertly, that I can't count them all." When concubine Xu saw the injuries on her son's body, her heart felt as if it was tightly grasped by a big hand, and it hurt so much that she could hardly breathe. He originally thought that if he did not fight or compete, they would not do anything to him and his son, but he did not expect that his blind tolerance would become a reason for them to bully him and his son at will. "Mother, in this world, people have always been at the mercy of others. If you don't want to be the fish on the chopping board, you must become the one holding the knife." Ling Qi said in a deep voice, "I didn't want to get involved in this turmoil, but was dragged into it by them. Now it's too late even if I don't want to get involved." Hearing this, concubine Xu nodded, wiped her tears, and said in a deep voice, "Mother understands." She put away the porcelain bottle and said softly, "Don't worry. Mother has just been disdainful of vying for favor over the years. If she focused on vying for favor, she wouldn't even take concubine Zhao seriously." After coming out of Yongfu Palace, Ling Qi went to the imperial study. When the emperor heard the palace servant report that it was Ling Qi, he raised his eyebrows, closed the memorial, and said in a deep voice, "Summon him in." Soon, Ling Qi walked in. "Your son pays respects to the emperor. Stand up." He smiled slightly. "When are you going to leave?" "In the next 2 days, I have already ordered people to prepare the luggage." Ling Qi whispered, "So your son has come to bid farewell to the emperor. I don't know if I will be able to return. The only thing I am worried about is my father and mother. My mother is all alone in this deep palace. Please take good care of her, father. Your mother is arrogant and proud. Why does she need my care?" Ling Qi heard him say this, and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. Sure enough, all these years, his father was just angry at his mother for not giving in. "When I just entered the palace, I went to see my mother on the way. I saw her holding a jade flute, and tears seemed to flash in her eyes. After asking, I learned that the jade flute was given by you when she first entered the palace." As soon as Ling Qi finished speaking, he heard the palace servants come to report that concubine Zhao was coming. Hearing this, Ling Qi said softly, "I will take my leave first." Emperor Tianshun nodded and said softly, "Be careful on the road." Just as he was about to turn around, he heard him say again, "This trip is dangerous. I let Ji Feng go with you." This sentence happened to be heard by concubine Zhao, who was about to come in. She stopped suddenly and her hand supported by Bishi clenched instantly.
Yifeng?
The emperor actually let Ji Feng go with the son of that. You know, Ji Feng is the emperor's personal guard. Over the years, she had never seen the emperor assign her to anyone. Now, he actually asked Ji Feng to be his guard. Even the prince had never had such an honor. At this moment, He Lingqi came towards her, saw her, and saluted respectfully. Your Highness, your son greets you.
Get up.
Concubine Zhao had a slightly stiff smile on her face. She was obviously itching with hatred in her heart, but she had to pretend to be generous. You must pay attention to safety on this trip. I heard that there is an epidemic raging in Liangzhou City, so you must not get sick. Thank you, Your Highness. Your son will save you. Okay, go. Concubine Zhao narrowed her eyes and thought to herself, go. It's better to die there and never come back. He Lingqi knew what she was thinking, smiled, and said, yes, your son will definitely come back safely. After saying that, he left without caring about Concubine Zhao's gentle image that could no longer be maintained. In the afternoon, when Concubine Zhao came out of the imperial study, Bishi walked up to her and whispered, Your Majesty, I have inquired about it. The fourth prince specifically mentioned Concubine Shu to the emperor today, and also mentioned something about Yu Xiao. Yu Xiao? Upon hearing this, Concubine Zhao said angrily, It is indeed this little. I was too soft-hearted back then, and did not directly find someone to kill her when she moved to Yongfu Palace. I didn't expect that she would dare to go against me now. Your Majesty, what should we do? What can we do? Let's keep our troops on hold and see if the emperor has any abnormal behavior. The fourth prince has just been entrusted with an important task, and his mother is in trouble. The emperor will definitely be suspicious. Concubine Zhao whispered, Let the people outside the palace keep an eye on it and report any movement from the fourth prince immediately.
Yes.
He Jingheng's legs recovered quickly. Although the weather has been cold recently, it is still very comfortable to feel the sun outside falling on his body at noon. He was sitting in a wheelchair, reading a book in the courtyard. Yun Tian walked up to him and whispered, Your Highness, as you expected, the emperor did send the fourth prince to Liangzhou to provide disaster relief, and he also specially assigned Jifeng to accompany him. Oh, our emperor is like this, giving a slap in the face and a sweet date. It's always been like this. He Jingheng smiled and said, Just make sure everything goes according to plan.
Yes.
Yun Tian took the order, but did not leave. He Jingheng frowned slightly. Is there anything else? Yun Tian thought for a while and said softly, Prince, that day I saw Master Ling Jun and Miss Yuni arguing in the backyard. Before he could finish, he saw the prince, who had been frowning and impatient just now, with a gentle smile on his face, and even his eyes were gentle. At this moment, a chuckle came from behind. I didn't expect that a grown man like you would gossip about others behind their backs like a gossiper. He turned around suddenly and found that Master Ling Jun, whom he had just talked about, was walking towards him leisurely. The upper half of his face was wearing a mask, so his expression could not be seen clearly, but the lower half of his face was wearing a disdainful smile. Your subordinates just think that you and Miss Uni are not related, and doing this will damage Miss Uni's reputation. Hearing this, Shang Ruai chuckled, who said I have no relationship with her. After she finished speaking, she said to He Jingheng, How do you feel about your leg today? It's stronger than the previous few days. Shang Ruai looked at the wound on his leg. She had done a minimally invasive surgery and the wound was very small. In the past few days, the wound has scabbed under the effect of the spiritual spring water. Why did you come at this time today? Of course I have something to do. Shang Ruai looked at Yun Tian beside her and couldn't help laughing. Prince, I originally thought that the secret guards around you were all smart people like Yunqi. How could there be such a stupid person? Yun Tian was very dissatisfied when she heard her say that. Mr. Lingjun, just speak directly. Why are you beating around the bush and saying that I am stupid? He originally had a good impression of Mr. Lingjun, but after a few days of contact, he disliked this person more and more. He is obviously a man, but he has an ambiguous relationship with the prince. Tian Shun and the people are open-minded, and there are many men who have the same interests as Long Yang, he understands. But He can't help but have an ambiguous relationship with the prince, and then he starts to hook up with Miss Uni. Such behavior is really shameful. Beating around the bush? Shang Ruai couldn't help but sneered. You don't know what your eyes see and your ears hear. Am I beating around the bush? Didn't I say it directly?
You.
Yuntian, don't be rude. He Lingxing said in a deep voice. See Master Lingjun as you would see me. Yuntian lowered his head and responded sullenly. At this moment, a doctor ran over in a hurry.
Prince.
Prince. What happened? Great news. Your Highness seems to have sensed the sound.
What?
He Jingheng looked at Shang Ruai, and seeing her calm expression, he knew that this must be her work. Everyone came to the backyard, and Shang Ruai picked up a teacup and knocked it against his ear a few times. Every time she knocked it, Hiyuan's brows moved. Shang Ruai put down the teacup, smiled and said, Yes, the prince's ears are gradually recovering. Everyone was overjoyed when they heard this. Shang Ruai checked his eyes again. His eyesight has also recovered a little. I believe he will be able to see again soon. Really? Of course. The wounds on Hiyuan's body have also recovered a lot. Compared with when he just came back, he is simply a different person. Ling Feng pinched a piece of dessert and just put it into his mouth. He heard from the people below that Hiyuan had recovered. I didn't expect Shang Ruai to have such superb medical skills. He can be saved even if he is in that state. Ling Feng snorted coldly. Yeah, I don't know who is so cruel. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter. There are too many people who want their lives. Ling Feng looked at the already filled milk, his mouth curled slightly. As long as he could make the He family suffer, he would use any means. These days, Shang Ruai is very busy, and all matters of the milk tea shop are taken care of by Hiyuni. Since being kidnapped last time, Hiyuni rarely leaves the shop on weekdays. If she goes out, there will be someone accompanying her. These days, Ling Feng comes to deliver milk every day. Today, he was waiting outside the shop before it opened. Winter is coming, and the weather is cold, especially in the morning. When you speak and pronounce words, you will bring up bursts of white mist. Shang Ruai got off the carriage at the manor, and Hiyuni continued to move forward. This carriage was specially studied and modified by Shang Ruai and Mr. Wu. The seats in the carriage are all soft couches, and they are very spacious, so you don't feel crowded even if you lie down. Hiyuni was a little drowsy, and she felt the carriage shake violently and suddenly stopped. What happened? She was about to lift the curtain when she heard a sound of close combat. Is this an assassin? She hid in the carriage and pulled out a dagger and held it in her palm. If the secret guards were defeated, she would not let herself fall into their hands even if she died with them. The assassins who came to assassinate this time were all very skilled in martial arts. Hiyuni could not understand their moves, otherwise she would have discovered that the martial arts used by these people all came from the western regions. Seeing that the secret guards began to retreat step by step, Hiyuni held the dagger in her hand more tightly. At this moment, an assassin came to the front of the carriage, raised his long sword, and shouted loudly, "Give me your life." The secret guard wanted to withdraw to protect her, but the opponent bit too hard and could not leave at all. Hiyuni was startled and stretched out her dagger to block it. If she had not learned some martial arts from Shang Ruai some time ago, she would not have been able to take this sword. Just as the assassin was about to shoot another sword, a tall figure wearing a silver-white mask fell from the sky. A sword was swung out and pierced into the assassin's arm. Turning back, he kicked him out. The assassins looked at him with fear on their faces and slowly retreated. "Who are you? How dare you ruin our good thing?" The man sneered. "I just saw injustice on the road. So many people are here to bully a woman who is powerless. What kind of ability is that?" He pointed the long sword in his hand at the group of assassins. "Let me meet you today." As soon as he finished speaking, he attacked the group of assassins fiercely. Soon, these assassins were injured and fell to the ground, lying on the ground and wailing. 1 against 10, that's it. Hiyuni watched this scene in the carriage, biting her thin lips lightly, with an admiring look on her face. "Why don't you get out of here quickly?" The masked man whispered. "I don't want to kill anyone today, and I'll leave you a dog's life." If I see you doing evil again, you won't be so lucky. When those people heard him say this, they hurriedly limped away. Seeing this, Hiyuni slowly opened the door of the car, wearing a peach-pink cloak with a circle of white fluff on the collar. It looked very playful and cute. Thank you for your rescue, brave man. I am very grateful. Hiyuni had a smile on her face. I only have some silver on me, which is a small token of my gratitude. If you think it is not enough, you can come with me to the shop in town to ask my sister-in-law for it. The masked man laughed softly. No need. Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. I didn't help you for the reward. He pushed back the silver bag and said with a smile, Little girl, although there are not many robbers on this road, there are few people in the morning. It is better for you not to walk here on weekdays. He took out a whistle from his arms and handed it to her. I am nearby most of the time on weekdays. If you are in danger, you can this whistle. I will come to rescue you when I hear it. Hiyuni looked at the whistle and thought for a while. Forget it. If my brother knows, I am afraid he'll blame me. The masked man didn't force her after hearing her say this. He put away the whistle and said lightly, In this case, I will take my leave. As soon as he finished speaking, the figure in front of him flashed, and the man disappeared. Not long after, the guards on the ground got up one after another, came to Hiyuni, and asked in a low voice, Miss, are you injured? Hiyuni shook her head. No, let's get on the road quickly. She walked onto the carriage and looked in the direction the man had just left. She didn't lower the curtain until the carriage started again. The masked man saw the carriage leave, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his lips. At this time, a man came behind him, bowed and said, Master. Well, you did a good job just now. He took off the mask. If Hiyuni saw this scene, she would definitely be shocked. Isn't this Ling Feng, who delivers milk to the shop every day? She shouldn't have any doubts.
Hee.
Ling Feng sneered. In the entire Dinghua Palace, except for He Jingheng and Shang Ruai, no one else needs to be taken seriously. Yes. When Hiyuni came to the shop, Ling Feng had already delivered the milk to the store. When he walked out of the shop, he happened to meet Hiyuni. He smiled and greeted her. Hiyuni's heart moved. Why did she feel that this person was a little familiar? At this moment, the shout of a customer in the shop attracted her attention. It seemed that Ing Shue accidentally spilled the milk tea when she handed it to the customer and sprinkled it on the customer. She hurried forward, and before she could speak, she saw the woman slap Ing Shue in the face. You lowly creature! How dare you dirty my dress? I think you are tired of living. She looked at Ing Shue arrogantly. Do you know how much silver this silver cloth costs? I can't afford the compensation even if I sell you. Ing Shue covered her face, gritted her teeth, and whispered, I'm sorry. You think you can get away with just an apology? The woman said angrily, I spent 40 taels on this dress. I just put it on today, but it was ruined by you, a low servant. Hiyuni hurriedly stepped forward and said with a smile, 40 taels. We will compensate you according to the price. Oh, I'm short of your 40 taels of silver? She pointed at Ing Shue. I'm going to beat her to death today. Shang Ruai, who had just walked to the door of the shop, heard this, and a trace of coldness flashed across her eyes. At this moment, Ing Shue whispered, I clearly handed it to you just now, young lady, and you let it go, and it spilled. Upon hearing this, the woman raised her hand again. How dare you quibble? She was about to wave it down, but the next moment, her hand was held by another hand, and the huge force made her unable to wave her hand down anymore.
Who?
Shang Ruai looked at the woman in front of her with a cold expression. Why did you hit my maid? Are you the owner of the shop? The woman looked at her face. A trace of jealousy flashed across her. That's right. Shang Ruai looked at her and whispered, I wonder if the young lady has any advice for you? It's not really advice, I just want to teach you how to behave. She was angry, you. It's because of you that my fiancé wants to break off the engagement with me. It must be you or your maid who seduced him. Your fiancé? Shang Ruai looked back at Ing Shue and saw that they both shook their heads. She turned around and said to the woman, Who is the fiancé you are talking about? My fiancé is the legitimate son of Mr. Wei. She raised her chin, as if this man was of high status, and sneered. "You are a merchant, the lowest of the lowest class. You must have set your eyes on the splendor of the Wei family. That's why you try to them."
Oh.
Zhang Ruai sneered. "Let alone Mr. Wei or your fiancé. We don't even know them. Even if we do, why would I covet the money of the Wei family? Do you think I'm short of money? I don't care." She pointed at Zhang Ruai's nose. "That's you. I'll beat you to death, you." At this time, the shop was already surrounded by people, all pointing at Zhang Ruai. I know she is not a quiet person just by looking at her appearance. Of course, relying on her face, she must have seduced many men. She is really shameless. She even doesn't let go of a man with a fiancé. She is really corrupt. Such a woman should be drowned. Most of the people who said these words were women. They were jealous of her looks. Seeing such a good opportunity, they would definitely add insult to injury. Zhang Ruai sneered at the corner of her lips. "Miss, please think before you speak. We will call the young Master Wei you mention now and confront him face to face. If I have done anything out of line, no matter what you want to do, I will not say a word. If what you said is untrue." A cold light flashed in her eyes. "Don't blame me for being ruthless. Let's go to the government office. I want to ask the adults what crime you should be punished for spreading rumors and slander like you did." Zhang Ruai's words stunned the woman. She never expected that such a businessman could speak so clearly. Suddenly, she felt guilty. After all, she had heard from other places that Wei Yan had been frequently visiting Fu Sheng Ruomeng recently. It just so happened that the Wei mansion proposed to break off the engagement with her. She was furious and rushed here regardless of anything. At the moment, Zhang Ruai's words made her a little unsure. But seeing her fearless look, she felt quite guilty. At this moment, someone among the onlookers said, "Miss, why don't you go find your fiancé? Let him confront you face to face. Expose the true face of this." She was among the people who had just gossiped. She wished that this shop would go bankrupt as soon as possible. Her husband recently took in a concubine and doted on her very much. She would come to buy a cup of milk tea every day, which cost 1 tael of silver a day, which was 30 taels a month. A concubine only got 8 taels of silver a month, and the main wife only got 20 taels. These 30 taels were specially allocated to her by her husband. She was even more glorious than her, the main wife. Not only that, the concubine became more beautiful after drinking the milk tea. Now her husband is so fascinated by the concubine that there is almost no place for her in the mansion. That's why she came here today to see what it is that attracts so many people. She didn't expect to encounter these things. She must step on it. She walked up and said to Zhang Ruai, "Tell me, is there something shameful added to this milk tea?" Zhang Ruai was stunned. "Shameful things? How can you say that?" So the woman told the public what happened at home. Suddenly, people looked at the woman with very strange expressions. A smile flashed across Zhang Ruai's eyes. "I have said long ago that there are many things in our milk tea that are good for the body and have the effect of prolonging life. Women who drink it will beautify their skin." As soon as she finished speaking, people who originally did not intend to line up gathered again. With such a good effect, why not buy it? At this time, a man ran in a hurry. This man was none other than the fiancé that the unruly woman had mentioned, Wei Yan, young Master Wei. He pulled the woman's arm and dragged her out. "Wei Yan, stop it." The woman cried out in pain. "You hurt me. Are you crazy?" Wei Yan said angrily. "Jiang Mimi, why are you here, making trouble? If your Wei family hadn't proposed to cancel the engagement with our Jiang family, why would I come here to make trouble?" Jiang Mimi's eyes were filled with tears. "You and I have been engaged since we were young, and we are about to get married. Now you say you want to cancel the engagement. Where does that put my Jiang family? Both the Jiang and Wei families are wealthy families here, and the marriage was indeed decided by their elders. The whole county knows that Jiang Mimi is the daughter-in-law of the Wei family, who is not yet married. At this juncture, the Wei family proposed to cancel the engagement, and Jiang Mimi would not be able to marry again in the future. Wei Yan's behavior is really criticized. I heard people say that you've been going to this Fu Sheng Ruomeng every day recently. There must be that shameless and despicable guy who seduced you, which is why you're like this. Jiang Mimi looked at Shang Ruoi's face. It's her, right? Shang Ruoi sneered. Miss Jiang, I have never met this young man before, so please don't say anything nonsense and ruin my reputation. Wei Yan shook his head and said in a deep voice, I don't know this girl. The few times he came here happened to be when Shang Ruoi went to the farm outside the city, and the two had never met each other. He also came up, took Shang Ruoi's arm, and looked at Jiang Mimi coldly. You are really eloquent and can confuse right and wrong. If my brother knew that you slander my sister-in-law like this, he would definitely not forgive you. Sister-in-law, you are married? Jiang Mimi's face turned slightly pale. Why didn't you say it just now? Why should I say it? Shang Ruoi sneered. Do I have to keep saying that I am married every day in order to prove my innocence? Besides, it is easy to find excuses to accuse someone of a crime. Even if I just said it, you will have other excuses to deal with me. Maybe you will say that I am not a faithful wife. I am obviously married, but I still your fiancé. Shang Ruoi's words successfully made Jiang Mimi's face pale. She turned her head, looked at Wei Yan and said, Then why? Why did you break off the engagement with me? Who did you buy the milk tea for? Which? Wei Yan really couldn't bear it anymore and said angrily, Look at you. Do you look like a lady from a noble family? You always say things like lowly embryos and keep these words on your lips all day long. Who can look down on you? As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a man in the crowd whisper, Hey, this gentleman looks familiar. I seem to have seen him somewhere. The man finished speaking. Wei Yan looked a little flustered. At this time, a servant in the crowd smiled and said to the man, It seems that you are also a frequent visitor of our Tingyu Pavilion. After the servant's reminder, the man remembered instantly. He said to Wei Yan, I was wondering why she looked so familiar. Isn't she Miss Yuro's guest? The man's words instantly changed Wei Yan's face. He didn't expect that he would be recognized. Jiang Mimi's face turned pale instantly when she heard it. Tingyu Pavilion, Yuro. These two words are known to everyone in this county. The three words Tingyu Pavilion sound like a tea house, but in fact it is a brothel business, and Yuro is the top courtesan here. She is very beautiful, but she only sells art and not her body. The more this is the case, the more the group of men will think that she is pure and innocent, and then they will do anything to get her favor. Not only the people in their town, but also several nearby towns often have guests come here to listen to her music. It is said that some time ago, a man gave tens of thousands of taels to the shopkeeper of Tingyu Pavilion in order to marry her, but he still failed to get Miss Yuro's approval. I really don't know what kind of man she wants to marry. Jiang Mimi said in a trembling voice, Did you really go to Tingyu Pavilion to find Miss Yuro? Are you going to break off the engagement with me because of a cheap? The more she talked, the sharper her voice became. Wei Yan, she is just a... How can you humiliate me like this for such a woman? Her tears burst out instantly, and she said angrily, The affection between you and me since childhood for so many years is not as good as a... It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Wei Yan stood there, his face gloomy, as if he was holding back his anger. After a while, he whispered, Yuro is not the kind of person you think. She is deeply trapped in this and has no choice. Shang Ruoi sneered. What a fate that has no choice. Master Wei really knows how to be considerate of others. The obvious sarcastic words made Wei Yan's face change slightly. But when he set his eyes on Shang Ruoi's face, which was much more beautiful than Yuro's, he could not help but be slightly stunned. There are such iconic people in this world. Shang Ruoi felt particularly disgusted by his gaze and coughed heavily. Mr. Wei, Miss Jiang, now that the facts are clear, I wonder how Miss Jiang plans to compensate for the losses in my shop? She smiled and said, I have been delayed by you for so long. I don't know how much silver I have lost. Jiang Mimi's face flushed, and she took out 100 taels of silver from her and put it on the table. Is this enough? Although there was still arrogance in her eyes, the aura around her had been reduced a lot. Shang Ruoi smiled. Enough? There is still some left. Shang Ruoi took the banknotes in her hand and flicked them a few times. In this case, I will give you a few words. What words? Some people are not good people. Even if they're forced to get together, they will just waste their lives. A person's life is not long or short. It's just one day after another, but how to live this life is still up to you. Women don't have to rely on men. Only by relying on themselves can they stand between heaven and earth. Shang Ruoi smiled. That's all I have to say. Miss Jiang, please take care of yourself. The people queuing behind were shocked when they heard her words. Women don't have to rely on men? How is it possible? Which woman in this world doesn't obey her father at home, obey her husband after marriage, and obey her son after her husband's death? This is the rule left by our ancestors. The woman who had just started the commotion sneered upon hearing this. I said you are a very strange woman. Which woman doesn't listen to her husband? This is decided by our ancestors, and we should obey it. Are all the decisions made by our ancestors right? Shang Ruoi sneered. The ancestors you mentioned used to eat raw meat in the beginning. Why don't you learn from them? What do you mean by eating raw meat? You are just talking nonsense. Shang Ruoi glanced at her and was too lazy to argue with her. Since you said you would follow the rules of our ancestors, put your husband first in everything, and listen to him, then why did you come to me today to make trouble? It can be seen that the rules of our ancestors are not necessarily right. Shang Ruoi's words left her speechless. Jiang Mimi felt that her back was soaked with sweat. A woman can only stand between heaven and earth if she relies on herself. Rely on herself. She looked at Shang Ruoi in front of her, and her heart suddenly settled down, as if she had found her backbone. When Jiang Mimi looked at Wei Yan again, the desolate look in her eyes had disappeared completely. Wei Yan, it was your Wei family that made the mistake today. You, Wei Yan, were blind and chose to break off the engagement with my Jiang family for a mirror. Since you have made up your mind, I will accept it. She pulled a piece of her skirt off with force and threw it on the ground. From now on, you and I will sever our ties and ties. Tomorrow, someone from my clan will come to cancel the engagement and take back the token. Jiang Mimi turned around and bowed deeply to Shang Ruoi. Listening to your words is better than reading 10 years of books. Jiang Mimi said softly. Thank you for your frank words today. I am very grateful. I will definitely bring a heavy gift to thank you in the future. After she finished speaking, she turned and left without looking at Wei Yan again. Shang Ruoi did not take this matter to heart. Unexpectedly, the Jiang family sent the housekeeper to pick her up in person the next day. Madam Shang, my lady and young lady are affectionate. Shang Ruoi raised her eyebrows. She didn't expect that Jiang Mimi would actually do what she said. She came to the Jiang family. Mr. Jiang and Mrs. Jiang were standing at the door. Seeing her coming down, Mrs. Jiang hurried forward. This must be Madam Shang. She is indeed a very iconic person. Hello, Mrs. Jiang and Mr. Jiang. Shang Ruoi was slightly startled. She didn't expect that the couple would greet her at the door. Jiang Mimi walked up and put her arm around her familiarly. Mother, I told you. Madam Shang is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. Shang Ruoi was not impressed by Jiang Mimi's speed of changing her expression. She pulled her arm out of her hand and smiled. Madam Jiang, you are too kind. Come into the mansion quickly. Mr. Jiang said, It's very cold outside. Don't catch a cold. After entering the mansion, Shang Ruoi handed her cloak to Xuanmei. She was wearing a warm satin robe of sky blue. Seeing this, Jiang Mimi said with envy, Sister Shang's dress is so beautiful. This material is not like the one sold in our cloth shop. The Jiang family started out as a clothing business and later began to enter the government, so they are very sensitive to these things. This material is warm satin produced in Jiangnan. He Jingheng knew that she didn't like to wear too heavy clothes, so he specially ordered Yunqi to find it. Warm satin is rare, and not much is produced throughout the year. Most of it will be tribute to the palace. All the production this year was secretly transported here by He Jingheng. Mr. Zhang's eyes flickered slightly. Ever since he heard his daughter come back and tell him what happened on the street yesterday, he sent people to investigate the background of this milk tea shop. Unexpectedly, it was opened by the daughter-in-law of the He family in the exile land. The whole Tianshan knew that the Dingwa Palace was exiled. The Dingwa Palace is not an ordinary aristocratic family. Even the emperor is afraid of it. Although it was exiled, it is not something that people like them can afford to offend. Seeing Shang Ruai's dress today, this intuition is even stronger. Fortunately, his daughter did not offend her too much. When he thought of her unruly temper, Mr. Jiang couldn't help sweating on his forehead. Madam Shang, my daughter is young and inexperienced, and she speaks without restraint. If she has offended you, please do not take it to heart. Mr. Jiang stood up, bowed and said, I am here to apologize to you. Shang Ruai saw this and said quickly, Mr. Jiang, you are too polite. It's all a misunderstanding. It will be fine once we talk it out. Mr. Jiang was relieved to hear her say this. At this moment, a servant came in and whispered a few words to Mr. Jiang, and then he left. Seeing him leave, Madame Jiang sat beside her with a smile on her face and said softly, Yesterday I heard Mimi say something that I had never heard before. She said that it was Madame Shang who told her. I was really shocked, and I wish I could meet you immediately and ask you for advice in person. Shang Ruai smiled. Madam, you are too kind. It's not that I'm asking for advice. I'm just sharing some of my own opinions. Madam, you said that women should rely on themselves, but looking at Tianshan and other countries, women are all dependents. How can they rely on themselves? Shang Ruai smiled. Madam, what you said is wrong. Since ancient times, women have had dowries when they got married. Their parents' families basically took away everything they needed for their entire lives, and they basically didn't need the money of their husband's family. Not only that, they also had to serve their parents-in-law, manage the inner house, and educate their children. None of these were easy tasks. If their parents' families were more powerful, they would also give them farms and shops. The money they earned would occasionally be used to subsidize their husband's family. Isn't this relying on themselves? Her words stunned Madame Jiang. Since ancient times, women have been given dowries when they get married, and these are taken for granted. I have never thought about it this way. Most of the money earned from the manor shops and lands flowed into the public account of my husband's family. This is also considered very normal by my husband's family. In this way, it is really as Shang Ruai said. Moreover, I see that many women in Tianshan are opening shops and becoming shopkeepers. They can support themselves by earning money on their own. Why do they have to look at their husbands' faces all day long? Mrs. Jiang was shocked by her words. It turns out that a person's life can be spent like this. Many times, the more you care, the easier it is to lose. Only what you really hold in your hands is yours. Shang Ruai smiled. Only if you are excellent can you not be afraid of wind and rain. Jiang Mimi heard this, holding her chin, her eyes sparkling, and said, Mother, what did my daughter say? Sister Shang's words made my daughter feel like she had an epiphany. Madame Jiang nodded. This was the first time she heard such a novel point of view, but in Tianshan, not everyone could have such thoughts. It would be great if everyone could think like you. A spark can start a prairie fire. The status of women cannot be changed overnight, but I believe that one day, all women in this world can be like what I said. A spark can start a prairie fire. Madame Jiang kept repeating this sentence. Her heart seemed to be filled with something. When she left the Jiang family, Madame Jiang personally sent her to the door and wanted to pack some brocade for her as an apology. But Shang Ruai politely declined. Madam, Miss Jiang has already paid the compensation that day, so let's just leave it at that. Okay. She patted Shang Ruai's hand and said with a smile, There is a long way to go, and you must come to our house more often in the future. Watching Shang Ruai's carriage turn and disappear, the mother and daughter reluctantly returned to the house. Mother, I am not wrong, am I? Jiang Mimi said with a smile. After being taught a lesson by Sister Shang yesterday, my daughter was unwilling at first, but when I think about it carefully, not a word she said was wrong. I have rarely admired anyone in my life, but Sister Shang is definitely someone I admire very much. Madame Jiang nodded and touched Jiang Mimi's hair lovingly. Mother has only you as a precious daughter, so I will find the best family for you and protect you for a lifetime. Mother, I don't want anyone to protect me. I want to rely on myself, as Sister Shang said. As soon as the voice fell, Master Zhang walked in with a serious face. Master, how is it? Did you get the token back? Mrs. Zhang asked hurriedly. Master Zhang sat on the chair and didn't speak. Mrs. Zhang felt something was wrong and asked in a low voice, Master, what happened? Master Zhang sighed. The Wei family refuses to cancel the engagement.
What?
Jiang Mimi stood up from the chair and said angrily, Why? Why don't they want to cancel the engagement? Yes. Mrs. Jiang was also very puzzled. Was it the Wei family who first proposed to cancel the engagement? Why are they unwilling to do so today? Hey, it's because Wei Yan's visit to the brothel was exposed, and the Wei family was worried that the rumors would spread. Wei Yan still wanted to take the entrance examination, but based on his behavior, I'm afraid it would affect his future. Master Jiang clenched his fists. They said that if our Jiang family insisted on canceling the engagement, they would not let our Jiang family go easily. The Wei family is more powerful than the Jiang family. The Jiang family used to be merchants at the bottom of the 9 classes. Unlike the Wei family, which had gentry a long time ago, there are still people from the Wei family serving as officials in the court. If the Wei family used some tricks to trip up the Jiang family would definitely be unable to move forward. The people do not fight against the officials, not because they do not want to fight, but because they cannot fight. Mrs. Jiang sat on the chair in a daze. Is there no other way? The Wei family has such an attitude before the wedding. If our precious daughter marries into their family, I don't know how much suffering she will have to endure. As she spoke, tears fell. How could Mr. Jiang not know? He only has one daughter, Jiang Mimi. How could he bear to let her marry into a den of tigers and wolves and suffer? It's not that he is reluctant to give up the family business. If he can use the Jiang family's business to exchange for his daughter's freedom, he is willing to do so. What he fears most is that even if he gives up these, his daughter will still marry into the Wei family. At that time, they really have no capital to compete. At this moment, the shadow of a person emerged in his mind. Perhaps only she can save their Jiang family. The next day, before dawn, the Jiang family's carriage stopped at the door of the He family. Master Jiang was waiting in the carriage with his wife and daughter. The weather was cold, and even though Jiang Mimi was wearing thick clothes and holding a hot water bottle in her arms, she was still shivering from the cold. Dad, how long will it take for the day to dawn? Wait a minute. Why do you have to come so early? It would be better to come after dawn. Jiang Mimi yawned. I haven't woken up yet. You are so careless, girl. You still want to sleep. Madame Jiang whispered. The Wei family may have arranged spies outside our Jiang family. If we don't set out at night, it may be difficult for us to leave the city. After all, it is easy for the Wei family to do something to their Jiang family in this county. In fact, what Madame Jiang said was really right. At this time, Master Wei was arranging servants to keep an eye on the Jiang family. Jiang Mimi's face turned pale for a moment when she heard her mother say this. If she was really controlled by the Wei family, she would have no way to go to heaven or to the earth. Not long after, the sky slowly brightened. Shang Ruai had just walked out of the room when Ying Xue came to meet her. Miss, the Jiang family's carriage has been parked at the door for almost 2 hours. Shang Ruai thought for a moment and said softly, Grandmother and Mother haven't gotten up yet. Let them go to the side hall. Yes. Shang Ruai simply packed up and went to the side hall. At this time, the Jiang family had arrived. Sorry to have kept you waiting for so long. Shang Ruai smiled and said, The weather is so cold. Drink some tea. Jiang Mimi took the tea and drank it quickly. After drinking the hot tea, the three finally felt much more comfortable. I dare not disturb you, as you came so late at night. I feel so sorry to come to your house now, but we are really desperate and have no other choice. Please save our Jiang family and my daughter, Madame Shang. Shang Ruai understood in her heart that the Wei family must have lost face in front of others and now refused to cancel the engagement and insisted on marrying Jiang Mimi. If the Jiang family refused, the Wei family would definitely not give up. If what happened the day before had not happened, Jiang Mimi's marriage to the Wei family would most likely be an unhappy marriage, and she would be neglected by her husband. However, due to the Jiang family, they would not do anything too extreme. However, Jiang Mimi made Wei Yan singled out in front of so many people for loving A, and the Wei family lost all their face. Now, marrying Jiang Mimi into the family, who knows what kind of torture they will have to endure. It was also because of this that the Jiang family came to find her. What does Master Jiang want me to do for you? She smiled. I'm new here and don't have any roots in this county, so I'm afraid I can't help you. No, you can definitely help. Master Jiang looked around and said in a low voice, only the crown prince's wife can help me with this matter. Shang Ruai paused while drinking tea. The Jiang family really had this idea. She put down the teacup. Although the sound of the teacup hitting the ground was light, it still frightened Master Jiang and Madame Jiang. Although the woman in front of them was not very old, she came from a famous family and married into the Dingua Palace. If it weren't for the Dingua Palace exiling them here, how could they have the honor to meet such a person? Not to mention sitting with them. Master Jiang, I am no longer the crown prince's consort. I am exiled from the Ding kingdom. If you call me like this again, I am afraid you will be charged with disrespecting the emperor's will and treason. Master Jiang and Madame Jiang were shocked when they heard this. Master Jiang's neck shrank. Shang Ruai smiled. Master Jiang, don't worry. What you said will not be spread here. Just be careful in your words and deeds in the future. Yes. He wiped the sweat from his head and sat on the chair, his legs trembling. Jiang Mimi sat at the end, her eyes red, tears rolling in her eyes, but she didn't dare to let them fall. Master Jiang, is it for the Wei family's matter today? Shang Ruai said in a low voice. Upon hearing this, Mr. Jiang said quickly, That's right, Madame Shang is really a prophet. Thank you for the compliment, Mr. Jiang. Since you are here, please speak frankly. Miss Jiang and I are also strangers to each other. Shang Ruai smiled and said, If there is anything I can help with, I will definitely not refuse. Hearing her say this, Mr. Jiang stood up and bowed. I am very grateful to hear these words from Madame Shang. Madame Jiang sat aside, wiped the tears from her face with a handkerchief, and whispered, The Wei family forced our Jiang family to marry their daughter. Their son is such a bad person. If we, Mimi, marry into their family, won't we suffer? Jiang Mimi finally shed tears when she heard this. Shang Ruai pondered for a moment. Then, why did Master Jiang come to me? I want you to come forward and resolve this marriage. Shang Ruai couldn't help laughing when she heard this. Master Jiang, I am just the owner of a milk tea shop in the county. How can I influence the Wei family? You really think too highly of me. Master Jiang paused for a moment when he heard her say this. Yes, now that the Dingua Palace no longer exists, he came to visit rashly without knowing the situation of the He family. This behavior is really inappropriate. His heart sank slightly. Could it be that their Jiang family can only let the Wei family manipulate them? Just when they were discouraged, Shang Ruai said lightly, But it's not that there is no way at all. What? Jiang Mimi raised her head suddenly and looked at Shang Ruai without blinking. What can we do? Shang Ruai took a sip of tea and said lightly, I heard that someone in the Wei family passed the imperial examination a long time ago, but that was all. Now they all hope that Wei Yan can continue the glory of their ancestors, but Wei Yan doesn't seem to be as motivated as they thought. Master Jiang nodded. I didn't expect that I would be wrong one day. Wei Yan is a hopeless case. He hangs out in brothels all day long. He is morally corrupt and a disgrace to society. The Wei family is most worried about Wei Yan not being able to enter the government. Shang Ruai said coldly, Tianshan has strict requirements for the official selection system. I heard from my father before that people with corrupt morals will never be able to serve as officials in the court. This was indeed what Shang Mian said, and Shang Ruai sneered at it. If people with corrupt morals cannot serve as officials in the court, then how did they enter the officialdom? And they were even appointed as prime ministers. When Master Jiang heard her say this, his eyes lit up. May I ask who is Madame Shang's father? Shang Nian. Shang Nian? Shang, Prime Minister Shang? Don't be surprised, Master Jiang. It's all in the past. Shang Ruai smiled faintly. If Wei Yan's behavior gets out, the Wei family's prestige and officialdom will probably end with this generation. Master Jiang was shocked. She is worthy of being the daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion. She has grasped the weak spot of the Wei family so easily. I heard that the Jiang family used to be a merchant family. They must be very wealthy, right? Mr. Jiang nodded. My ancestors started out as a clothing family. Although they are not as wealthy as the aristocratic families, they have more than enough. I wonder why Miss Shang asks this? Now there is an epidemic in Tianshan. If Mr. Jiang is willing to lend a helping hand, the court will surely remember your kindness. Upon hearing this, Mr. Jiang was enlightened. He quickly stood up and said with a bow, listening to your words is better than reading for 10 years. Thank you for your advice today, young lady. I understand. I am just talking casually. Don't take it seriously. After Mr. Jiang and his family left, He Jingheng was pushed in by Ah Cheng. So this is why you asked Yunqi to investigate the Jiang and Wei families yesterday. Shang Ruai smiled slightly. I'm just curious. He Jingheng knew that she didn't want to say more and nodded. Okay, I'm just curious. Shang Ruai smiled and said nothing. I didn't expect you would actually instruct him to donate money for charity. I heard from Yunqi that Liangzhou City has some special meaning to the Dingwa Palace. I guess even if these gentry don't raise money for charity, the prince will give out money. Shang Ruai drank the last sip of tea, and the originally steaming hot tea had become cold. Since you have to take money, why not use other people's money? Haha. He Jingheng laughed softly. My wife really knows how to live. That afternoon, the news that the Wei family's legitimate son lingered in the red light district had spread everywhere, and the rumors seemed to have wings. Not only did everyone in the county know about it, but other counties around it also knew about it. Even if the Wei family wanted to suppress him, they couldn't. Wei Yan knelt in the main hall, and the head of the Wei family threw a teacup at him. Have you read all the books of sages? You dare to linger in that kind of place before you even enter the officialdom. Now that it's been exposed, how are you going to end it? At this point, he was still not satisfied, so he picked up the ruler on the table and hit him the back. She's just a... Why are you so obsessed with her? You want to marry her as your principal wife? Are you crazy? Let it be your principal wife. You have disgraced our Wei family. Wei Yan knelt there, not daring to say a word. Mrs. Wei kept wiping away tears when she saw her son being beaten. Cry, 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 you only know how to cry. This stinky boy is spoiled by you. He is so useless. How can we hand over the Wei family to him in the future? When Wei Yan heard this, he looked at his father in disbelief. Could it be that his father still wanted to hand over the Wei family to that? What are you looking at? This Wei family is mine. I can give it to whoever I want. If you don't live up to expectations, I will give this Wei family to your half-brother. The head of the Wei family sat on the chair and panted. You are not allowed to go to Tingyu Pavilion again. Hurry up and marry that girl from the Jiang family. Tell the public that she was angry with you and spread such rumors. Over time, people will gradually forget about this matter. Still want to marry that crazy woman Jiang Mimi? Wei Yan frowned and said in a deep voice, I don't want to marry that crazy woman Jiang Mimi. When Master Wei heard this, he slapped him.
Rebellion.
How dare you talk back? Wei Yan's head was knocked off, and there was a trace of blood on the corner of his lips, which showed how strong his hand was. Master Wei was really angry. He raised his hand and wanted to hit him, but was stopped by Madame Wei. Master, stop hitting. Master Wei shook his hand, and Madame Wei fell to the ground. He pointed at the mother and son and said, Marry the daughter of the Jiang family within 10 days. As long as she is married, I will not care whether she is beaten or hurt. But if she is not married, don't blame me for being rude. Madame Wei nodded and said, Don't worry, master. I will immediately ask the matchmaker to facilitate this marriage. Master Wei snorted and went out. Wei Yan was still kneeling on the ground, with hatred in his eyes. He had had enough of being controlled like this. The next day, Madame Wei came to propose marriage, but the Jiang family claimed to be sick and refused to see them. Madame Wei was anxious and had no choice but to ask for help from her brother who worked in the government office. Since marrying into the Wei family, Madame Wei felt that she was superior to others in her family and was arrogant all day long. Now she asked to go back, but she was not welcome. The Wei family was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot, but Jiang Mimi was happy and relaxed. She came to the milk tea shop and pestered Shang Ruai to learn how to make milk tea. That day, Ling Feng came to the shop to deliver milk again. Jiang Mimi looked at his profile and always felt that he looked familiar, but she was not sure. Seeing her expression, Shang Ruai couldn't help asking, "What's wrong?" "Nothing, I just seemed to see an old friend, but it seemed that I recognized the wrong person." Jiang Mimi's personality was carefree, so Shang Ruai didn't take it to heart. Shang Ruai called him to the back kitchen and said in a deep voice, "There is one thing I want to ask you." "Miss, please go ahead. You have a farm here, which means you are not short of money. Why do you follow me?" Ling Feng smiled, who said, "I am not short of money." He took out a few copper coins from his arms. "I only have these few copper coins left on me, and I don't even know how to solve the dinner problem." Shang Ruai looked at the copper coins in his hand and couldn't help choking. She took out 50 taels of silver and gave it to him. "It was my negligence." Ling Feng took the silver. "Thank you for the reward, young lady." Shang Ruai saw the calluses on his palms and frowned slightly. This is a mark that only people who practice swordsmanship for many years will have. What is the reason why he stays by her side? He Jingheng's legs are recovering better and better, and he can already walk on the ground with the help of something. The old princess and Qin were so happy to see this, and they looked at Shang Ruai more and more kindly. To them, Shang Ruai is the great benefactor who saved their Dingwa palace. However, in front of outsiders, He Jingheng still sat in a wheelchair. No one would have thought that his legs had recovered. On this day, Shang Ruai just arrived at the shop and saw Hyuni making milk tea absent-mindedly, and she didn't even notice that the milk was overflowing. "What are you thinking about?" Shang Ruai walked forward and asked with a smile. "Are you missing some young man?" "Sister-in-law, what are you talking about?" Hyuni wiped the spilled milk and said with a red face, "I'm not." Hearing her say this, Shang Ruai couldn't help but be stunned. I just said it casually, and her reaction was so big that she was confessing something. Hyuni also found that her reaction was a bit too intense. Blushing, she said, "It's not a big deal." She told her everything about the assassination and rescue that day. "I thought nothing happened after all, so I didn't let them tell you and your brother, for fear that you would worry." Shang Ruai frowned when she heard this. A hero saving a beauty? How could it be such a coincidence? "Sister-in-law, I have never seen that man since that day. You must not tell grandma and mother, otherwise they will never let me go out again," Hyuni said anxiously. What Hyuni said was true. According to the temperament of the old princess and Qin, they were not willing to let her come here. After such a thing happened, they would definitely let her go back home. "Sister-in-law, he and I are really innocent. Nothing happened. If you don't believe me, go ask the coachman and guard who sent me that day." Shang Ruai touched her head and said softly, "It's not that I don't believe you, I'm worried." "What are you worried about?" "You." Shang Ruai tapped her forehead. "I have so many things to worry about. Where did that group of assassins come from? What was their purpose? What did that knight who appeared out of nowhere do?" She sighed. "If you are assassinated again, you must not hide it. Otherwise, not to mention that your grandmother and mother did not allow you to come, even I will not agree to let you leave the house again." "I know, sister-in-law." Hyuni hugged her arm and said, "There will not be a next time." After getting her promise, Shang Ruai was willing to let her go. The Wei family's affairs were a hot topic and really became a topic of conversation after dinner. That day, Wei Yan was walking on the road and passed by Tingyu Pavilion. He heard people talking about Miss Yu Rou. He wanted to leave quickly, but the next words made him stunned on the spot. "Have you heard? Miss Yu Rou is getting married." "Really?" "Of course," said an old procuress dressed in fancy clothes. "Our Yu Rou is so lucky to be favored by Lord Zhao from the next city."
"Lord Zhao?
Which Lord Zhao? Which Lord Zhao could it be? Of course it's Lord Zhao Su, the county magistrate." The old procuress looked at the new gold bracelet on her hand with a proud look on her face. "See? This is sent by Lord Zhao, and it was personally matched by our Wei Yuanwei. Oh, congratulations. Your Yuro is so lucky. Wei Yan was stunned where he was, his eyes full of shock. His father actually used this trick to make him give up. Cut off the firewood from under the cauldron. But Lord Zhao was already half buried in the ground. He was too old to be Yuro's father, so how could he marry her? How could he be worthy of a woman as gentle as Yuro? He turned and came to the door of Tingyu Pavilion. When the madam saw him, a hint of sarcasm flashed in her eyes. Hey, Master Wei, what are you doing here in my Tingyu Pavilion again? I want to see Yuro. See Yuro for what? Master Wei, you vowed to me that you would marry Yuro back to the Wei mansion as the first wife. I didn't believe it, but you kept promising us, so Yuro believed it. What was the result? She sneered. If you can't do it, don't tell us. Now Yuro is about to get married, and you also want to get married, so it's better not to meet. Mother Zhang, let me see Yuro again. He said earnestly. I will explain everything to Yuro. Talk, what's there to say? We were deceived by your eloquent mouth before. Mother Zhang snorted. I'm telling you the truth. Mr. Wei has already told us that Mr. Wei is not allowed to step into our Tingyu Pavilion. Mr. Wei, please go back. As soon as Mrs. Zhang finished speaking, several strong men came out. Mr. Wei, please go back. We have received money from you and don't want to do anything to you. Seeing this, Wei Yan subconsciously glanced at the room upstairs, only to see a pink corner of clothes disappear, and his originally dead heart revived again. Yuro must have him in her heart. Yuro must not be married to the Zhao mansion as a concubine. His eyes gradually became firm, and he left quickly. Yuro stood by the bed and saw him leave through the window. She turned around and said to the people in the room, I have done what you said, sir. Can you really let me leave here? Don't worry. Shang Ruai, who was dressed as a man, smiled with a romantic face. I always keep my word and do what I say. In that case, I would like to thank you in advance. Yuro's eyes kept falling on her face, pursed her lips, and swallowed the words that were about to come out of her mouth. At this time, there was a knock on the door, and Mother Zhang walked in. She twisted her body and walked into the inner room. Shang Ruai had already put on the mask on her face. Sir, I did these words according to your instructions. Shang Ruai smiled. Well done. She took out a silver note and put it on the table. Please take it to Mother Zhang for a drink. Oh, how can I be so embarrassed? It's just a piece of cake. Mother Zhang had a smile on her face. Looking at the face value of 500 taels on the banknote, her smile grew even wider. She pushed Yuro to Shang Ruai. Yuro, why don't you serve the young master well? Yuro blushed slightly and took a step toward Shang Ruai. She picked up the wine cup and poured the wine into it. Shang Ruai stretched out her hand and put it on the wine glass. Drinking is harmful to your health. Miss Yuro should drink less. Yuro's face turned even redder when she heard her say that, and a warmth emerged from her heart. Thank you, young master. She put down the wine glass, walked to the guzheng, and said with a smile, How about Yuro playing a song for you? Miss Yuro, please. She bowed slightly and sat on the chair. Every move seemed to be calculated. Everyone says Yuro plays the pipa well, but they don't know that Yuro is really good at playing the guzheng, and you are the first person to listen to Yuro playing the guzheng. As expected of the courtesan of Tingyu Pavilion, her guzheng skills are so impressive that they can be heard for 3 days. After the song, Shang Ruai said with a smile, Miss Yuro is really versatile. I admire you. You are too kind, sir. Shang Ruai saw that it was almost time, so she was ready to get up and say goodbye. At this moment, Yuro stepped forward, took out a purse and handed it to her. Sir, Yuro has been in Tingyu Pavilion since she was a child, and she doesn't have any good things. This is what I made myself. Please don't dislike it. Shang Ruai looked at the purse and raised her eyebrows. Could it be that Yuro has taken a fancy to her? In Tianshan, this is the meaning of a woman giving a man a purse. Shang Ruai smiled. Miss Yuro, this purse is of great value. I cannot accept it. Yuro's face froze. Sir, do you despise my origin? She said hurriedly. Although I am trapped in the quagmire, I have never lost my virginity to anyone. I am innocent. Shang Ruai waved her hands. No, 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 I don't mean to despise you. She smiled bitterly. I really have my reasons for not accepting your kindness. Yu Ro held the purse in her hand and said with a lonely look, I know. Shang Ruai smiled and turned away. Yu Ro watched her disappear before she closed the window in disappointment. At this time, Zhang's mother came in. Yu Ro, I think Mr. Yun has no intention of marrying you. Yu Ro sat on the chair where Shang Ruai had just sat and sighed. Mom, in our line of work, who can really be free of any grudges? I believe that with my looks, it is only a matter of time before he is willing to marry me.
Oh.
Mother Zhang frowned. Mr. Yun is generous. He must be rich or noble. Even if you marry him, you will definitely not be able to be his wife, and with such a background, you don't know what kind of torture you will have to endure. Mother Zhang whispered, I think Wei Yan is a coward, but he really likes you. Marry him, maybe. Mom also said, he is a coward. As long as his father is still alive, he will not have the final say in the Wei family. Yu Ro interrupted her. Mom, there is no need to persuade me anymore. Wei Yan, I never thought of marrying him. She has always been someone who has her own ideas. When Mother Zhang saw that she had made up her mind, she stopped trying to persuade her. She knew that no matter how much she talked, she could not change her decision. However, she was the top girl in Tingyu Pavilion, and she earned the most money. Now she is getting older, and she will not have many more years of glory. Many young women in Tingyu Pavilion are growing up, and there will be no place for her. It is better for her to get married early. Shang Ruai came to the farm, feeling quite depressed. What's wrong? He Jingheng said with a smile. Who made you angry again? Nothing. Shang Ruai smiled, walked to his side, and when she checked the wound on his leg, she found that he was only wearing a thin pair of trousers in such cold weather, and she couldn't help but frown. Why are you wearing so little? Those who practice martial arts don't need to wear too much. Shang Ruai cast her eyes on Yun Tian behind her and found that he was also wearing very little. She said with a sigh, What's wrong with you men practicing martial arts? When you get old, all the problems will come up, such as frozen shoulder, old cold legs, and so on. He Jingheng's lips curled slightly, with a smile on his face. He found that he actually liked listening to her nagging. It was as if the more she naggled, the more it proved that she had him in her heart. Suddenly, he found that his emotions seemed to be always controlled by her. She had never expressed her feelings to him, and it was he who was looking for traces of her having him in her heart in various clues. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt a little pitiful, and Yun Tian behind him was also stunned for a moment. He kept recalling what she had just said in his mind. You men? What does this mean? Could it be that she is not a man? Master Lingjun, isn't he a man?
Then.
His eyes fell on the smooth chin exposed by Shang Ruai, and he wanted to slap himself in the face. How could he be a man without even a beard? Was he blind at the beginning? However, since she was not a man and she behaved intimately with his master, she must be the master's sweetheart, and she was so intimate with Miss Uni. Then this person could only be. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but take a breath. Could it be Shang Ruai? The two shadows kept overlapping and finally merged into one. Hiss. It was really her. He was stunned on the spot. She actually healed the master's leg. He didn't even hear Shang Ruai calling him Yun Tian. Shang Ruai raised her voice. What does the prince's wife have to say? He half knelt and said in panic. Prince's wife. What a fool. Yunqi, who was about to walk in, heard him say this. He couldn't help but sigh. He walked in, bowed and said, Prince, Master Lingjun, our people have received the donation raised by Master Jiang, a total of 30,000 taels of silver. He Jingheng nodded and said to Shang Ruai, This time it is really thanks to you that you thought of such a solution. Yun Tian was still kneeling on the ground. Shang Ruai smiled and said, You get up. Yun Tian stood up. His face was very unnatural. He stared at Yunqi secretly. Looking at him like this, He must have known the identity of Master Lingjun for a long time. It was too disloyal not to tell him. Yuntian set his eyes on Shang Ruai again, and suddenly found that he had been too narrow-minded. She was not what he thought. Not only that, she also helped the prince heal his legs and save the prince. Was he blind before? Yunqi knew what he was thinking and did not stop him from blaming himself. After all, he had reminded him a long time ago, and as the prince's personal guard, the most taboo thing was to complete the tasks assigned by the prince with his own emotions. The two walked out of the room, and Yuntian said to him with a hint of complaint, "Why didn't you remind me?" "Yuntian, there are some things I have wanted to tell you for a long time." Yunqi said seriously, "If you always carry out the tasks assigned by the prince with your personal opinions, then you should go back to the Dark Guard camp for retraining." Yuntian was stunned. It's just for the good of the prince." Yunqi sneered. "Do you think that the prince can't think of what you can think of? Do you think you are smarter than the master?" Yunqi's words stunned him. "Yes. How could the master not think of something that I can think of? You know how outstanding and amazing the crown prince's consort is. You just don't want to admit it." Yuntian lowered his head and said softly, "I know. From today on, if you say anything bad about the crown prince's consort again, and the crown prince hears it, I won't plead for her." Yuntian nodded. "I understand." At this moment, a voice came. "It's been so long since we last met, and I heard Yuntian being scolded as soon as I came back."
Yunting.
Yuntian exclaimed, "Why are you back?" A woman in tight clothes walked out from the dark. "Of course I have completed the mission and came to report to His Highness." She held a bundle in her hand, shook it, and said, "Fortunately, I have fulfilled my mission. I finally got what His Highness wanted. I will take you to His Highness now." Yuntian looked at Yunqi's face and swallowed. "Can I take her with me? I don't think His Highness needs this thing now. The Crown Prince's consort has already cured the princess' illness, so the heavenly soul grass is no longer useful to them." "No need? How is that possible?" Yun Ting was stunned. "Forget it. I'll take you to see His Highness." Yunqi walked in front expressionlessly.
Yunting fra ned.
As soon as she reached the door, she heard He Jingheng's gentle voice. "You are so old. Why are you still lying down to read? Don't you want your eyes anymore?" They had never heard such a gentle voice before. Yun Ting paused, and Yun Tian, who was following behind her, almost bumped into her. "What happened?" Yun Tian whispered. "I almost bumped into him." "Who was in the master's room?" Yun Ting's voice was cold. "Of course it's the prince." Yun Tian stopped talking. "The prince's wife and Master Lingjun are the same person. It seems that only a few of them know about this. He doesn't know whether the master is willing to let Yunting know. He can't leak this matter. Of course it's the prince," he said with a smile, "and the people who treat the prince." Yunting vaguely felt that this was not what Yuntian wanted to say at first. At this time, Yunqi had already knocked on the door. "Prince, Yunting is here." In the room, Shang Ruoi hurriedly put on the mask. There was a rustling sound, which sounded like something unspeakable was done outside. Yunting's face was a little ugly. As soon as He Jingheng uttered the word enter, she squeezed Yunqi aside and walked into the room impatiently. Yunqi looked unhappy. Where did Yunting learn the rules? Yuntian walked to his side and said with a smile, "Yunting's temper has always been like this. Don't bother with her." Yunqi didn't say anything and followed in. "Your Highness." She bowed slightly.
Yes.
He Jingheng put down the book in his hand and said lightly, "What did you gain from this trip?" "Your Highness, the Tianhun grass has been brought back." She opened the bundle and observed He Jingheng's reaction. Yunqi just said that the prince didn't need it. How could it be possible? The prince was so ill. In addition to rare herbs like Tianhun grass, what other herbs can cure it? Unless the prince has passed away. He Jingheng looked at the Tianhun grass in the bundle, nodded, and said calmly, "You have worked hard. Go down and have a good rest." Yunting was startled. Judging from the attitude of the prince, he was indeed not enthusiastic about the Tianhun grass. At this moment, Shang Ruai's voice rang. "Prince, can you give me this heavenly soul grass?" He Jingheng looked at her, smiled, and said, "Do you want it?"
Yes.
Shang Ruai stared at the herbs in the package. This is heavenly soul grass. The herb only exists in legends and is extremely rare. If it is planted in space and grows a few more plants, wouldn't it be a fortune? At this time, Yun Ting's slightly annoyed voice came. This is a heavenly soul grass that I have gone through untold hardships to get. Why do you want it just because you want it? Don't be rude. Yunqi said in a deep voice. Young Master Lingjun is the benefactor of our Dinghua Palace. Yun Ting heard Yunqi say this. She lowered her head and stopped talking. Just now, she actually saw a smile in the eyes of the prince. How could it be possible? This young Master Lingjun is a man. How could the prince be so kind to a man? If it is true, what should I do in the future? If you like it, I'll give you this heavenly soul grass. He Jingheng said softly, it's a small way to repay your kindness to our Dinghua Palace. Shang Ruai took the heavenly soul grass in her hand with a bright smile on her face. This happiness was not fake. For Shang Ruai, getting a rare herb was more fun than making money. Seeing this, Yun Ting couldn't help but clench her fists. She almost lost her life for this broken grass, and the prince gave it away in the blink of an eye. Yun Qi saw her unwillingness, and his heart sank. If the Dark Guard has thoughts about the master that he shouldn't have, he is not worthy of staying by the master's side. In addition to healing external injuries, this heavenly soul grass can also detoxify. Shang Ruai said with a smile, I have already thought of a way to treat the poison you were poisoned with. Her words stunned everyone in the room, including Yun Ting. The world. Yun Tian changed his words. Master Lingjun, are you telling the truth? Shang Ruai nodded, lowered her head and fiddled with the Tianhun grass. If the poison is not detoxified, your prince will not live for many years. If the ice bone poison is not detoxified, he'll be frozen for longer and finally die in the ice. A mere ice bone poison will not kill me. As soon as He Jingheng finished speaking, Shang Ruai rolled her eyes. He touched the tip of his nose and stopped talking. Yunqi and Yun Tian were already accustomed to this scene. Since their prince was willing to pamper him, they naturally had no objection. But Yunting was extremely shocked. Yunting didn't recover until she left the room. Could it be that the master really likes men? This. Yunqi looked at her and said lightly, You take a rest for 2 days and then set off for the western regions. Yun Ting was stunned for a moment. Why? Didn't you say that after this mission, I can return to the prince? The prince has us to serve him, and the western regions need manpower. Yunqi turned and left after saying this. Yun Ting's heart sank. Could it be that her thoughts were discovered? Thinking of this, her back felt numb. I still remember that from the day she became the prince's secret guard, Yunqi told her that she should not have any thoughts about the master that she shouldn't have. Otherwise, he would not let her stay. Yunqi is really strange. You just came back and he asked you to leave again. Yun Tian scratched his head and said secretly, The western regions don't need manpower either. Why send Yunting there? However, the secret guards have always been managed by Yunqi, and Yun Tian did not dare to question his words, especially after the incident with the prince's wife. He was even more obedient to Yunqi. Where is the crown prince's consort? Yun Ting looked around. She shouldn't be here. Everyone knew Shang Ruai's identity. When she married in, the prince sent secret guards to monitor her at all times. Before Yun Tian could answer, she said, Yes, given the crown prince's personality, how could he let Shang Nian's daughter know this place? She thought Yun Tian would agree with her point of view. After all, he used to hate Shang Ruai the most. Unexpectedly, Yun Tian's face suddenly darkened. Yun Ting, we are the crown prince's secret guards. How can we talk about the mistress behind her back? Mistress? Yun Ting was stunned for a moment. What kind of mistress is Shang Ruai?
Just a spy.
Did Yun Tian's brain get kicked by a donkey? He mistook Shang Ruai for the mistress. At this moment, a figure walked out. Shang Ruai was wearing a green robe and holding the heavenly soul grass in her hand. Master Lingjun. Yun Tian bowed and said, Master, are you leaving? Do you need me to prepare a car? Shang Ruai waved her hands, no need. I have something else to do, and I have to leave first. It's so late, You don't seem very comfortable being alone. Before he finished speaking, he felt a figure passing by in front of him. The next moment, he felt a pain in his knee, and his arm was suddenly pulled back by someone. It hurts. It hurts. His shoulders seemed to be torn off. Now, do you still feel unsafe being alone? Zhang Ruai said lightly. Safe, safe. Yuntian's veins popped up on his head in pain. Zhang Ruai let go of his arm, clapped her hands, smiled, and turned around. Yuntian stood up from the ground and was about to clasp his fists when he suddenly felt that the hidden injury on his shoulder didn't hurt at all. Could it be that the Crown Prince's wife's action just now was to help him heal his injury? His eyes lit up instantly when he looked at Zhang Ruai, and he bowed to her back. Thank you, Master Lingjun. Zhang Ruai did not stop, did not look back, just waved her hand, and her figure slowly disappeared into the night. He Jingheng slowly stood up and walked a few steps slowly. He looked at his legs, and a hint of joy flashed in his eyes. Soon he would be able to be like before. At this moment, Yunqi walked in with a note. Prince, something happened. He Jingheng frowned as he looked at the note in his hand. We have secretly sent so much silver to Liangzhou City. Why can't we even build a shelter? Prince, the fourth prince said in the letter that the emperor meant that if the epidemic could not be controlled, Liangzhou City would be abandoned. Our silver was sent in batches, and in the end it all went into the pockets of those corrupt officials. There was not much left for the lower levels. He Jingheng's eyes sank. Liangzhou City was an extremely important city for Tianshan and must not be abandoned. He is getting more and more daring. He even dared to embezzle from me. Prince, do you want to ask the Crown Princess? Yunqi whispered. The brothers who took the Crown Princess's pills were not infected even though they were in the epidemic area. He Jingheng's eyes were heavy. The pills should be extremely precious. There were a large number of people in Liangzhou City. Not to mention whether there were so many herbs, it was unknown how long it would take to make the pills. He shook his head and whispered, Let's see if there are any other ways. What actions has the prince taken? The prince originally asked divine Dr. Jiang to treat his grandfather. Now that his grandfather's illness has not been cured, the prince has no choice but to recommend divine Dr. Jiang to the emperor. With divine Dr. Jiang, the plague should be under control. He Jingheng said lightly. However, in this case, wouldn't the fourth prince have come here in vain? How could it be in vain? He Jingheng sneered. The prince's personal presence represents the emperor's grace. Knowing that this is disaster relief money, they still dare to embezzle. The officials in Liangzhou City should really be rectified. At the same time, in the imperial study, the emperor looked at the memorial handed over by the fourth prince and was so angry that he threw the inkstone away. Your Majesty, please calm down. Seeing that Emperor Tianshan was so angry, Zhang hurriedly said, Your Majesty must not get angry and hurt yourself.
Calm down?
How can I calm down? He said loudly. It is clearly written in the memorial of the fourth prince that out of the 100,000 taels of silver, not even 10,000 taels were distributed. Where did all the silver go? How dare Zhang speak out? Throughout the dynasties, how many officials were not corrupt? Your Majesty, isn't Lord Zhang also in Liangzhou City? His words made Emperor Tianshan pause his hand that was about to smash the teacup.
Yes.
Now, all he saw was the one-sided words of the fourth prince. At this moment, a secret letter was delivered to him.
It was written by Shangyan.
The content of the letter was almost the same as what the fourth prince said. Upon seeing this, Emperor Tianshan crumpled the letter into a ball, and his anger could no longer be suppressed. Draft an edict. I want all officials in Liangzhou City shall be sentenced to death. Just then, the voice of the palace servant came from outside. Your Majesty, the Crown Prince is here. It was late at night. What was the Crown Prince doing here at this time? Let him in. He Lingxing walked into the imperial study, looking at the mess on the ground. His face did not change at all. So late? What are you doing here? Emperor Tianshan rubbed his eyebrows and said tiredly, What is so urgent that you have to come to see me now? Reporting to your father, I have found the world's #1 doctor, Dr. Jiang. With him, the epidemic will definitely be under control. When Emperor Tianshun heard him say this, he instantly became energetic, the world's #1 doctor. But is it true? He Lingxing nodded. My grandfather was seriously ill. If it were not for Dr. Jiang, he would have passed away by now. It is not an exaggeration to say that he has the effect of bringing the dead back to life. When Emperor Tianshun heard him say this, he hurriedly asked him to bring Dr. Jiang into the palace. I have brought him into the palace, and he is now outside the palace. Divine Dr. Jiang walked into the imperial study and knelt on the ground in fear and trepidation. Your humble servant pays homage to the emperor. Long live the emperor. Stand up. Thank you, your majesty. Emperor Tianshun looked at him for a long time and nodded. You are truly a miracle doctor with an ancient and immortal style. Your majesty's praise is so high that I cannot accept it. Divine Dr. Jiang bent his body, looking nervous, with beads of sweat on his forehead, for fear that he would say something wrong and anger the emperor. The prince said that you have superb medical skills and can solve the problem of epidemics. Is that true? Divine Dr. Jiang whispered. There are only a few types of epidemics in the world, and the treatment methods are similar. I have helped the people of the western regions treat epidemics before. Emperor Tianshun nodded. In this case, I will wait for your good news about this epidemic. If you can cure the epidemic, I will reward you greatly. I dare not accept the reward from your majesty. It will be my honor to help your majesty share his worries.
Ha ha ha.
Good. Emperor Tianshun showed his joy and praised. You are worthy of being a genius doctor. If you can solve this crisis, you can stay in the palace to treat me. Upon hearing this, Divine Dr. Jiang knelt down hurriedly. Thank you, your majesty. He Lingxing heard what the emperor said. His eyes flashed slightly. No one knew better than him what the emperor's personal imperial physician meant. It seems that he must recruit Divine Dr. Jiang for his own use. After returning, Divine Dr. Jiang kept expressing his gratitude to him. Thanks to the recommendation of the prince, I can get the favor of the emperor. This prince did nothing. It was still Divine Dr. Jiang's own ability. He Lingxing took a sip of tea with a faint smile on his face. This prince uses tea instead of wine, and congratulates Dr. Jiang first. Dr. Jiang raised the teacup. Thank you, your highness. At this moment, Jiang Anir appeared at the door. Your highness, daddy. Jiang Anir was holding a food box in her hand.
Come in.
He Lingxing frowned slightly. Jiang Anir walked in and said with a smile, I heard from the servants that your highness and daddy just came back, so I made some food and sent it over. Seeing this, Dr. Jiang had a smile on his face, and it can be seen that he was very satisfied with Jiang Anir's actions. She put the food out, and He Lingxing looked at the things on the plate that he couldn't call and frowned slightly. This kind of thing, just let the servants do it in the future. Jiang Anir thought that He Lingxing didn't want her to work hard, and with a smile on her face, Daddy likes the food I make the most. Your highness can also try to see if it suits your taste. He Lingxing just took a piece of dessert, tasted it, and put it down. It tastes good. He swallowed it without changing his expression and stopped eating. After returning to the bedroom, He Lingxing ordered the palace servants to bring tea and rinsed his mouth for a long time to get rid of the taste in his mouth. Your highness, the food made by Miss Jiang is so unpalatable. Why do you still eat it? His personal guard Li Ju asked in confusion. Since Divine Dr. Jiang came to the mansion, he has been bringing Jiang Anir to hang around in front of me from time to time. He Lingxing snorted coldly. How could I not know what he meant? Your highness means that Divine Dr. Jiang wants you to take Jiang Anir into the mansion as a concubine? He Lingxing shook his head. Dr. Jiang's ambition seems to be more than that. Could it be that Jiang Anir is thinking about the position of the main wife? He exclaimed. He Lingxing glanced at him, and the fierceness contained in his glance made Li Ju lower his head instantly. The prince was no longer the boy he had been many years ago. He realized that he had overstepped his authority. Li Ju stepped back and bowed, saying in fear, I know I am wrong. It's not your fault. He Lingxing knew that in the entire palace, only Li Ju followed him wholeheartedly. Just because he gave him a bun when he was dying, he could risk his life to protect him. He Lingxing sighed. Now, Dr. Jiang has won the favor of my father. If he can control the plague, he will surely rise to prominence. But he can win the favor of the emperor, isn't it because of your promotion? When people reach a high position, their mentality will naturally be different from before. Lingxing sneered. Just wait and see. If he can solve this plague, then Jiang'er, I will definitely take her into the mansion. Li Ju noticed that Lingxing used the word accept, and he had a plan in his mind. Since ancient times, the word accept has been used for concubines. Yes, although Jiang'er is the descendant of a genius doctor, she was born in the countryside, was very crude, knew nothing about etiquette and manners, and always put on a condescending attitude. Not to mention that His Highness didn't like her. No one in the mansion liked her. After a few days, He Jingheng's legs had recovered by more than half, and with the help of the spiritual spring water, he could already walk alone. It takes 100 days to heal a broken bone. If there was no spiritual spring water, I'm afraid he would still need to sit in a wheelchair. Yun Ting came to say goodbye to He Jingheng the day before Yunqi arranged to go to the western regions. Sir, I will leave for the western regions tomorrow. Yes, He Jingheng said in a deep voice. The western regions are not as smooth as Tianshan, so you must be careful. Yes. Yun Ting's face lit up, thinking that He Jingheng was caring about her. Looking at the secret guards under the prince, there were very few who could get his advice. Just when she was complacent, He Jingheng's words shattered all her fantasies. The forces in the western regions are complicated. If you provoke someone you shouldn't, I can't protect you. Yun Tian, who was guarding outside, sneered. He said to Yunqi, every time she goes on a mission, the prince has to remind her. In fact, it's because she is prone to trouble, and she doesn't even know it. Yunqi glanced at him. How could he have the nerve to say that? At this moment, Shang Ruai came behind them. Is He Jingheng in the room? Yes. Shang Ruai nodded and walked straight into the room. As soon as she stepped into the door, she heard Yunting's voice. Prince, how will Shang Nian's concubine be placed in the future? Will she be placed in a yard like she did at the beginning? To put it nicely, it's placement, and to put it bluntly, it's confinement. He Jingheng whispered, just take care of your own business. It's better not to interfere in things that don't require your intervention. But Yunting thought for a while and whispered, the prince married her in the beginning because it was a wise decision. You didn't believe her at the beginning. Besides, isn't it all because of that old man Shangnian that the Shang family has become what it is now? He Jingheng frowned and said impatiently, you don't understand what this prince says, right? Shang Ruai is my prince's consort, and she is your mistress. As a servant who talks about the master behind his back, I think you should go back to the Dark Guard Pavilion and train again. Yun Ting's face turned pale when she heard this. She never expected that He Jingheng would say this. Your Highness, I just... All right. He Jingheng waved his hands and said in a deep voice, once you go to the western regions, do not come back without my order. Yun Ting's face turned completely pale. Didn't her master mean to not let her come back? She retreated to the door and almost bumped into Shang Ruai. Greetings, Master Ling Jun. Her eyes were slightly red, and she bowed awkwardly and left quickly. When He Jingheng heard Yun Ting's voice, he knew that she had overheard the conversation just now. Sighing. Why don't you come in? Shang Ruai curled the corners of her lips. I saw that the prince was saying goodbye to his subordinates and seemed to be in a bad mood, so I didn't want to disturb him. She walked into the room, smiled and said, I didn't expect that there was such a wonderful person around the prince, who actually reached her hand into the prince's room to take care of things. Yun Ting has been by my side since she was a child, and she has been taking care of things a lot. He Jingheng saw that she was speaking with sarcasm, and there was a smile on his face. Since he has been raised by the prince since he was a child, he must have a deep relationship with the prince. He Jingheng nodded. I guess so. Shang Ruai rolled her eyes when she heard him say this, squatted at his feet, and said coldly, Leg, let me take a look. He Jingheng smiled and showed the wound. It's almost healed. He took a few more steps. Shang Ruai nodded and said coldly, in this case, I don't need to come again in the future. He Jingheng had just sat in the wheelchair, and his expression paused. Why? The prince's leg is already healed. Why do I need to keep coming? She put away her medicine box and threw it to the door, and Yunqi quickly took the medicine box. Shang Ruai looked at him with appreciation. He has good skills, good reactions, and good eyesight. How about the prince assign him to me? Yunqi was stunned when he heard this. He Jingheng said in a deep voice without thinking, Yunqi is not good enough. Many people know him. His face is not easy to appear in the eyes of too many people. Look at the others. Yun Tian, who was standing next to him, straightened his back. You know, she is not only the prince's wife, but also the son of Ling Jun. Shang Ruai glanced at him, then closed her eyes and said lightly, Others, there is really no one who can look up to her. Yun Tian blinked. Was he being despised? Since the prince is unwilling to give up, then give me a discount. How much silver do you think your legs and the prince's life are worth? He Jingheng stood up from the wheelchair, walked to her, and said with a smile, Do we have to settle it so clearly? What are you talking about, the prince? Of course we have to settle it more clearly. As the saying goes, brothers should settle accounts clearly, not to mention that we are not even brothers, let alone what kind of relationship we have. Shang Ruai thought about it and smiled. It can be considered roommates.
Roommate?
He Jingheng was confused. What does roommate mean? It means living under the same roof, not related by blood, not friends, but better than strangers, that's all. He Jingheng heard her say this and said with a smile, I never knew a woman would be angry like this. Shang Ruai glanced at him. Now you know. I have arranged Yun Ting to the western regions, can you not be angry? It was the first time that Yun Tian saw their young master being humble. He blinked and said to Yunqi next to him, Am I dazzled? Yunqi was also a little unbelievable. He didn't expect that the young master would be so angry for. To please the prince's wife, he even sacrificed his dignity. If others saw this scene, they would definitely say that their prince was someone else pretending to be him. After all, they had been with the prince for so many years, and the most common thing they saw was his cold face. When had they ever seen him like this? Shang Ruai glanced at him and said kindly, The secret guards belong to the prince himself. I, a concubine of the Shang family, have no right to manage them. He Jingheng smiled bitterly. If he had known, he would not have teased her. He wanted to see her jealous, but he didn't expect that she was not jealous, and coaxing her made her exhausted. At this moment, a gray carrier pigeon landed on the window. He Jingheng took it in his hand and took the note from the pigeon's feet. Seeing the content of the note, he couldn't help but frown. Shang Ruai saw it and wanted to ask him what happened, but when she thought of what Yun Ting said, she swallowed the words that were on her lips. If you have something to do, I'll go back first. She turned around and was about to leave, but He Jingheng grabbed her wrist and said, It seems you can't leave yet.
Huh?
Under the shocked gaze of Yunqi and others, He Jingheng handed her the note and said, Take a look. Shang Ruai didn't take the note. If she took it from now on, they would be in the same boat. She didn't know what He Jingheng was going to do, but in the eyes of the court, it would definitely be a rebellion. If she took it from now on, everything he did would show her handwriting, which ran counter to her purpose of making enough money and then lying down. But then again, even if she didn't participate, if He Jingheng got into trouble in the future, she would still be punished together. In this case, why not find a way out for herself? Thinking of this, she took the note. That divine Dr. Jiang, who is praised by people as the best in the world, is also helpless against this epidemic? Shang Ruai said in surprise, It's just a small plague. How can it not be cured? A small plague? Yunqi and Yuntian couldn't help but take a breath of cold air when they heard it. That's a plague. In every country and dynasty, who doesn't tremble when talking about plague? How come it became a small plague in the mouth of the prince's wife? Hearing her say this, He Jingheng's eyes lit up. So, you know how to treat it? Shang Ruai nodded. The pills I gave you before have an inhibitory effect on the plague. If you want to treat it. She rummaged through the medicine box for a while and took out a white porcelain bottle. This is the pill that can cure the plague, but it can't be said that it can be completely cured. This kind of disease still requires me to go deep into Liangzhou City to treat it. He Jingheng nodded, and just as he was about to speak, he heard footsteps coming from outside. The man whispered something in Yunqi's ear, and Yunqi's face suddenly changed. Prince, it's bad. Something has happened. What happened? For some reason, someone in the county has been infected with the plague. Now, the whole county is in a panic and every family is staying indoors. He Jingheng frowned when he heard this. Plague is not like other things. You can't avoid infection if you don't go out. Are there many people infected with the plague? It seems that there are dozens of people at present. Dozens of people, a lot of people. So many people were infected with the plague at the same time. It doesn't seem like a coincidence at all. Have you found out where these people have been? We have found out that they have been to Liangzhou City. At this time, Shang Ruai smiled. I wonder what benefits the emperor has promised to Dr. Jiang? What do you want to do? Shang Ruai took the pills. If I can cure the plague that Dr. Jiang couldn't cure, what benefits should the emperor give me? He Jingheng saw a cunning look in her eyes and knew what she was thinking. He said slowly, if you want something, just go to your husband. Don't covet other men's things. Shang Ruai was speechless when she heard this. At such a juncture, this man actually had the mind to make a joke. It's always more fun to make money from others than to make money for yourself, isn't it? Shang Ruai took out a few porcelain bottles and handed them to Yunqi. Give these to them and see how effective they are.
Yes.
2 days later, Yunqi came to He Jingheng with a look of surprise. Prince, great news. What's wrong? The pills of the Crown Prince's wife are really effective. The conditions of those people have improved significantly. The one with the mildest symptoms is almost cured. What? He Jingheng put the book on the table. So fast? That's right. At this moment, Shang Ruai walked in, heard the conversation between the master and servant, smiled and said, I said my pills are very effective. There is undiluted spiritual spring water added to it. How much silver are you going to sell each pill for? Shang Ruai blinked. It depends on who you sell it to. She put down the teacup in her hand. If it's an ordinary citizen, I won't charge a penny. If it's the court, I will ask for the cost price, 5 taels of silver per pill. 5 taels of silver. Cost price. Yunqi almost bit his tongue. The Crown Prince's wife is really worthy of being the shopkeeper of Fu Sheng Ruameng. He Jingheng's eyes flickered slightly, and a smile appeared on the corner of his lips. In this case, let the court bleed. Yunqi saw the smile on his son's lips and couldn't help but shudder. It's true that family members stick together. If the prince becomes sinister, I'm afraid he'll be on par with the prince's wife. On the second day, the news spread in the town that those who had previously contracted the plague had begun to gradually improve. Improved?
Impossible.
That's the plague, not the cold. How could it get better in such a short time? That's right. What has become of Liangzhou City? I heard that there are not many survivors. What do you know? It was Master Lingjun who saved us. Master Lingjun?
Who is that?
You don't even know Master Lingjun. The man sneered. That's a genius doctor who is much more powerful than divine Dr. Jiang. Soon, the name of Master Lingjun spread throughout Qingzhou. Everyone wanted to find her and ask for some pills. Shang Ruai came to the shop, and Hyuni called her aside. Sister-in-law, people in the county are talking about you today. You should hide quickly. What are they talking about? Of course, it's about how powerful Master Lingjun's medical skills are. He can even cure the plague. Shang Ruai smiled. Yes. You also said that is Master Lingjun. What does it have to do with me? I am Shang Ruai. Hyuni was stunned for a moment and smiled embarrassedly. My brain must be broken. Shang Ruai looked at her and joked. Are you still thinking about the chivalrous man who saved you a few days ago in your little head? Hyuni blushed and said quickly, no way. After she finished speaking, she turned around and walked outside. Shang Ruai saw her like this, and the smile on her face froze. Her heart sank slightly. This was clearly the appearance of a young girl in love. Could it be that she met that man again later? Before she could think about it, she heard Hyuni's cry of pain. What happened? Shang Ruai walked forward and saw that Hyuni's hands had been burned red. She frowned and hurriedly took cold water to soak her hands in it. Fortunately, the weather was cold and the water temperature was very low. What happened? Humph. Can't the servants here hold things steadily? You got my clothes and things wet. Can you afford to compensate me? A woman in a peach-pink dress raised her chin and said coldly, even if I sell all of you, it won't be enough to compensate.
Sister-in-law, it's not like that.
The milk tea was on the table.
I was just passing by.
She spilled the milk tea on me herself. Where has Hiyuni suffered such an injustice? She said hurriedly. You are making up a story. It's obviously you who did it. The woman said arrogantly, the herbs in my bag are all the herbs that Master Lingjun needs to make pills. Each pill is worth 1,000 gold coins. Can you afford to pay for it, Master Lingjun? Shang Ruai was stunned. Why didn't she remember asking someone to get some herbs? And they were worth 1,000 gold coins. It seemed that someone was using her name to defraud people. She knew it in her heart, but how could others know? When they heard about Master Lingjun, they all gathered around. Is what the young lady said true? Is it really young Master Lingjun? The woman raised her chin even higher. Of course. Where is young Master Lingjun now? No matter how much silver it is, I am willing to take it. I only ask you to sell me a pill. Whether you are willing to sell it depends on your mood. You can't buy it just because you want to. At this time, a woman in white clothes and a veil on her face walked in and said softly, Xiao Tao, what's the matter? What took you so long? When Xiao Tao saw her come in, she quickly pushed aside the crowd and came to her side, saying loudly, Young Master, why did you come down? Young Master? The person who could call Young Master by her mouth must be young Master Lingjun without a doubt. Seeing this, people hurriedly surrounded her, each with a flattering smile. I guess the girl is young Master Lingjun. I didn't expect it to be a woman. A woman said, I thought young Master Lingjun was a man. Shang Ruai watched the scene, wishing she could grab a handful of melon seeds from somewhere and eat while watching. It must be said that these people's acting skills are a bit average, but still quite good. Hiyuni's face flushed. Others don't know, but doesn't she know? Young Master Lingjun is clearly her sister-in-law. She was about to tell Shang Ruai that she was going to expose them when she saw her looking at those people with interest. It's more convenient to dress as a man when traveling in the world. The woman in white looked at Xiao Tao with annoyance. You exposed my identity for no reason. Sir, Xiao Tao knows she was wrong. She thought for a while and suddenly pointed at Hiyuni and said, it was all her fault. She spilled the milk tea and almost wet your medicinal materials. I just argued with her for a few words. Hiyuni was already angry because she was wrongly accused, and they pretended to be Master Lingjun. Who doesn't know the ability of Master Lingjun now? They pretended to be just to swindle people. If something happened, wouldn't it ruin her sister-in-law's reputation? Now, that Xiao Tao dared to throw dirty water on her. How could she bear it? If she didn't show her power, those would not know that she is both civil and military. She stood up and took her hand out of the cold water, pointing to her still red hand, and said, it was you who spilled the milk tea on my hand. Where's the evidence? What evidence can prove that I spilled it on you? It was you who spilled the milk tea, and it almost soaked the herbs that Master Lingjun needed. Seeing that people were so adoring of their young lady, she raised her face even higher. You! Hiyuni was exhausted. At this moment, the woman in white clothes called Master Lingjun came forward, looked at the burn on her hand, asked the servant to get the medicine box from the car, and took out a jar, which contained the burn ointment. She handed the ointment over. Just think of it as the negligence of my maid, and this ointment is an apology. Her action made everyone around her look at her with admiration. As expected of Master Lingjun, this kind of mind, how can a little girl selling milk tea compare? Once compared, people naturally thought it was Hiyuni's fault. The eyes looking at her were somewhat unfriendly. How could Hiyuni have ever suffered such an injustice that she could not defend herself? At this moment, Shang Ruai put down the snacks in her hand and walked forward slowly. You said that we spilled your milk tea, then what evidence do you have? Shang Ruai sneered. You want to slander people with your red mouth and white teeth. What do you think we are in Fu Xing Ruomeng? Unexpectedly, Shang Ruai would actually say this, and the woman in white was obviously stunned. He had revealed his identity as Master Lingjun, and she didn't do anything to humble herself, but she actually dared to talk back. Shang Ruai did not miss the flash of astonishment on her face. The woman in white looked at Shang Ruai and said softly, "Didn't I just say that even if it was spilled by my ignorant servant, I am still willing to offer this secret burn ointment?" "What do you mean by counted as?" He said angrily. It was obviously her. "Oh, girl, Master Lingjun didn't blame you. Why are you so fussy about it?" "That's right. He is Master Lingjun. I never thought that Master Lingjun would have such a good character." A hint of pride flashed in the eyes of the woman in white. These stupid people are so easy to fool. As long as she is called Master Lingjun, they will subconsciously stand on her side. Just as she was enjoying it secretly, a sneer came. "So, what if he is Master Lingjun?" Shang Ruai sneered. "Let's not talk about the authenticity of your identity. Even if it is true, what does it have to do with me? I am just the owner of a milk tea shop. I have no connection with you, let alone Mr. Lingjun. Even if you are the Emperor's princess, it has nothing to do with me." Hearing her say this, the face of the woman in white darkened. "Besides, everyone, look at the traces of the milk tea spilled on the ground. The water droplets are splashing outward from the table, which means it was splashed from the direction of your maid." Not only did she not admit it, she slandered my sister. Being able to raise such a servant shows that the master is not much better. Shang Ruai walked up to her, with a hint of sarcasm in her eyes. "I am not talented. I have had the honor of meeting Mr. Lingjun several times. She shows people with a mask all day long. I have never seen the young master dressed like this." The woman in white looked flustered for a moment, but soon calmed down. Thinking in her heart, she is just the owner of a shop. How could she have met a person like Mr. Lingjun? Really? Why don't I have any impression? She stroked the veil on her face. "I did wear a mask before, but I dressed like this today because I didn't want people to recognize my identity." The onlookers were originally suspicious of her identity because of Shang Ruai's words, but after hearing her say this, they felt that it made some sense. "Really?" Shang Ruai smiled. "I heard that Master Lingjun can cure the plague. I wonder what method he used?" Xiao Tao snorted coldly when she heard it. "What method our master used? How can you know?" She rolled her eyes at Shang Ruai. "I thought you, a merchant at the bottom of the 9th class, could have so much pride in you. You just want to get our master's secret recipe. Don't be ungrateful. Our master doesn't want to bother with you. It's your blessing." Xiao Tao stepped forward and pointed at the burn ointment. "This is our master's secret recipe. Just this jar costs 10 gold. 10 gold. People couldn't help but gasp when they heard this. Why is the burn ointment so expensive? People looked at Shang Ruai with strange eyes and whispered, "Mr. Lingjun is really generous. He gave away such an expensive ointment. It's really too much for the shopkeeper Shang to hold on to it." However, some people hold different opinions. Shopkeeper Shang doesn't seem like that kind of person.
Yes.
Shopkeeper Shang is polite to everyone, but to those two troublemakers, he was as aggressive and harsh as he was today. Shang Ruai sneered. "In my opinion, Master Lingjun is no different from an ordinary doctor." "What miracle doctor? It's just a rumor."
You.
Xiao Tao was about to step forward when she was stopped by the woman in white. "Shopkeeper, it doesn't matter what you say about me, but if you question my medical skills, I can't bear it anymore." "Am I wrong?" Shang Ruai opened the jar for treating burns that she handed over and pointed at the ointment inside. "This is just the most common burn ointment in the pharmacy. You exchanged it for another jar, scooped out a small spoonful, and said it was your secret recipe? And you sell it for 10 gold coins. Should I say you are black-hearted or greedy?" "What? This is just an ordinary burn ointment?" Shang Ruai took the ointment in her hand. "If you don't believe it, you can go to the clinic in front and buy a large jar for 10 coins to compare and see, and you will know whether what I said is true or false." The woman in white frowned when she heard this. She didn't expect that her trick would be exposed by her. Unexpectedly, someone really spent 10 coins to buy a large jar of burn ointment, which was 10 times more than that woman's. If it is exactly the same, then wouldn't this Lingjun Gongzi make all his money in a dishonest way? People compared the two ointments and couldn't help but be shocked. Whether it was the color, smell, or texture, they were exactly the same. They looked at the woman in white with very strange eyes, even contempt. It was obviously an ordinary ointment. According to the dosage of this jar, it was worth at most 1 penny, and it was sold for 10 gold? 10 gold is 100 taels. How many times is this? The woman in white felt the look in their eyes looking at her, as if she was on the back. But she soon calmed down. It's just burn medicine. Most of them are similar, but the effect of my ointment must be better. Really? Why do I remember that the burn ointment that the young master gave me was not like this? She took out a small porcelain jar from her sleeve, opened it, and a faint fragrance wafted out. She pulled Hyuni's hand over and saw that the heat on it had been suppressed by the ice water, and then applied the ointment on the back of her hand. In just a few breaths, the red mark on the back of her hand disappeared. Hiss! The effect of this ointment is too good. The woman in white didn't expect that she would kick the iron plate today. Shang Ruai covered the jar and glanced at her. If you want to cheat, you'd better change your identity. Doctors are no different from others. Any mistake will hurt your life. Shang Ruai's voice fell, and the onlookers looked at the woman in white with anger. So she was swindling here? How much silver did her maid say that the pills for curing plague cost? A huge sum of money. Why not just rob? Who here can afford a huge sum of money? Now think about it, isn't he just a liar? The man who told her that any amount of money would do was sweating coldly. He could afford the money, but if he used that much money to buy a fake medicine, he would be angry to death before he got the plague. The woman in white fled from the store and got on the carriage and left. Shopkeeper Shang, thanks to you today. Yes. If it weren't for you, we would have been cheated of our money by that woman. Shang Ruai smiled and said nothing. She had expected someone to impersonate someone else, but she didn't expect to be caught in the act today. They had to say that they were unlucky to have cheated the real owner. The woman in white in the carriage took off her veil, her face gloomy. Mississippi Xiao Tao said in a low voice, "We." The woman in white glanced at her. It's not all your fault. Originally, they wanted to create some accidents to let people know her identity as Master Ling Jun, but they didn't expect that this woman had actually seen Master Ling Jun. Didn't the master say that Master Ling Jun has never shown up? She said in a deep voice. Where did the shopkeeper see her? Xiao Tao shook her head. I don't know. Maybe she just said it casually to scare people. The woman in white looked heavy. She doesn't look like she's lying. Let's report to the master first and make a long-term plan. Miss, if we don't use this identity, how can we enter the palace smoothly? At this moment, the carriage stopped suddenly, and before Xiao Tao asked, a man's voice came from outside the carriage. Miss Su, I'm willing to help you. Su Ziluo opened the car curtain, and outside the car door stood a man in a dark blue robe and a dark cloak. You are. Su Ziluo's heart skipped a beat. Who is this man? He blurted out his name, so he must have investigated his background. The man slowly raised his head, revealing a handsome face. My name is Ling Feng. Mr. Ling and I have never met before. How do you know my name? Hee hee. Ling Feng laughed in a low voice. The girl's father was Su Xian, a first-rank official of Tianshan. Later, his entire family was executed for the crime of treason. There were more than 140 people in the mansion, and no one survived. But no one knew that the nanny serving in the room of Su Xian's legitimate daughter had a granddaughter who was in her early 10 years old. Her figure was very similar to that of the Su family's legitimate daughter, and she was not included in the roster of Su family servants. On the day of the execution, it was that little girl who replaced the Su family's legitimate daughter. The legitimate daughter who survived is Yu, Su Ziluo, the only remaining bloodline of the Su family. Su Ziluo's face sank slightly. He had investigated such a secret matter in such detail. What was this person's background? Seeing that she didn't say anything, Ling Feng knew that he had said all right. How is it? Miss Su, do you need my help? Why does Master Ling want to help me? Ling Feng curled his lips slightly and smiled. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I am willing to help you get revenge, and in return, you can also help me. What do you want me to do? Su Ziluo asked in a low voice. This is not a good place to talk. There is a tea house not far ahead. If you trust me, how about going down with me to have some tea? As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a delicate shout from the side. "You lecher! How dare you be so disrespectful to my lady? A man and a woman are in the same room. If they're seen by someone with ulterior motives, gossip will definitely spread." "Xiao Tao," Su Ziliuo said in a low voice. "Don't be rude to Master Ling. Since he was able to find out such a secret thing many years ago, he must know everything about her." Arriving at the tea house, she put on a hood to cover her face and followed Ling Feng to the private room on the second floor. At this time, the first floor was full, and several rooms on the second floor were also occupied. There were many guests coming and going here every day, and no one paid attention to them. "If you have anything to say, please speak directly, Mr. Ling." "Miss Su wants to enter the palace as a concubine?" Ling Feng poured her a cup of tea and revealed her thoughts in one sentence. "Mr. Ling is really a god." Su Ziliuo smiled. "I really want to enter the palace as a concubine. Only in this way can I kill my enemies and avenge more than 100 people in my Su family." Su Ziliuo nodded. "Wait until next spring, when the election is held every 3 years. You can pass this election and enter the palace. I will arrange for you to live in the general's mansion of the Western Cavalry and enter the palace as the legitimate daughter of the general's mansion." "General's mansion of the Western Cavalry?" Su Ziliuo's hand suddenly stopped. She stared at him without blinking and found her voice after a while. "Is what you said true, sir?" Ling Feng smiled, drank the tea in the cup, and whispered, "I will definitely do any promise I make." Hearing this, Su Ziliuo stood up suddenly and bowed. "If you are willing to help me, my life will belong to you. As long as I can avenge the extermination of my family, I will not hesitate even if I die." Ling Feng nodded with satisfaction. "I will not take your life, but if you are selected, then I will need your help in all matters of the harem." "Don't worry, sir." "Okay, then today I will use tea instead of wine and wish our alliance all the best." Shang Ruai was in the shop. Her eyelids twitched a few times, and she felt a little irritated. At this moment, Ah Chung rushed into the shop. "What's wrong? You're so flustered." "Miss, it's bad. The third young lady had a miscarriage. The old lady asked me to ask you to go back quickly."
"What?
"Miscarriage? How is that possible?" Hyuni heard and hurried out. "Sister-in-law, I'll go back with you." "Okay." When the two arrived at the He mansion, a servant was carrying a bowl of medicine and preparing to send it in. Shang Ruai smelled the smell and grabbed her. "What is this medicine for?" she asked sternly. "Young madam, this is an abortion medicine prescribed by the doctor. He said that the baby in the third young lady's belly is dead and must be aborted with medicine." "Nonsense." Shang Ruai walked in quickly and saw the doctor picking up a silver needle and preparing to stab Song. "Stop!" she shouted loudly. The doctor was startled by her, and the needle in his hand almost pierced into the skin. He turned back unhappily and looked at Shang Ruai, who was walking over. "What are you yelling about? Can't you see that I'm treating you?" Shang Ruai glanced at him. "Treat? If you want to treat you, why do you want to insert the needle at this acupuncture point? If you insert the needle here, not to mention the child, even the adult may not be able to be saved." Shang Ruai's sharp eyes made the doctor feel uneasy. He put away the silver needle and said angrily, "If you think my medical skills are not good enough, you can do it yourself." After saying that, he turned around and wanted to leave. Shang Ruai looked at Ah Chung. He understood and stopped the doctor directly. "What are you doing?" The doctor said angrily, "Do you want to keep me under house arrest here?" As a doctor, you must know what this acupuncture point means. It is the fatal point of the human body. We have to ask you what you are thinking. Shang Ruai said lightly, "You are not qualified to use dirty tricks under my nose." "What do you mean? Are you saying that I intend to harm her?" The doctor sneered, "I don't know you. Why do I want to harm her? So, we have to try him first." Shang Ruai looked at him coldly. "Keep an eye on him." "Yes. You really don't know the rules. No wonder you were exiled." As soon as the doctor finished speaking, he felt that the momentum of the people around him began to change. Shang Ruai sneered, "Since you know that we are exiled, you should know to be more careful in what you say and do." The coldness on her body made the doctor shiver. "Yes, although these people are exiled, They are from the Dingwa Palace. How can they be fooled so easily? Especially the woman in front of him. Shang Ruai put her hand on Song's pulse. She was now in a coma, but her brows were still tightly knitted, as if she was in great pain. There is still hope. After a while, her tightly knit brows slowly relaxed. She took out the silver needles, and soon, more than a dozen silver needles had been inserted into her body, which frightened Lin. Ruai, how is Fengji? Can the baby in her belly be saved? At this moment, He Jingxi's voice came from outside the door. Sister-in-law, Fengji must not be allowed to get into trouble. If anything happens, I will choose Fengji. Shang Ruai listened and smiled. This He Jingxi was really nice. Second aunt, don't worry. Fengji and the child will be fine. After several hours of struggling, the child in Song's belly was finally saved. She wiped the sweat from her head and said tiredly, "It's okay." Song Fengji woke up from her coma. In a daze, she looked at Shang Ruai and murmured, "Mother, I will definitely take good care of her." Her voice was very low, and only Shang Ruai could hear it. After saying this, she fainted again. Take good care of her? Take good care of what? But this is obviously not the time to worry about these things. Shang Ruai came to the doctor. The doctor didn't expect that she had such superb medical skills. Seeing her sharp eyes, he coughed dryly. "It's because my medical skills are not good enough. I admit defeat. Is that okay? Who ordered you to do that?" Shang Ruai went straight to the point and said in a deep voice, "Who ordered you to do that to her?" Shang Ruai's words stunned everyone in the room. Seeing this, Lin hurried forward. "Ruai, you blamed him wrongly. He didn't ask me to come. I sent someone out to find him." "Where did you find him?" "What a coincidence. I just sent someone out to find the doctor, and I met him." How could there be such a coincidence in the world? All coincidences are deliberately arranged. There is no clinic nearby, and there is no place to grow herbs. Why did the doctor come here? She sneered. Could it be that you came to this place of exile to relax? Lin was shocked when she heard her say that. Look at how confused she is. She was so careless. Isn't this just the dirty tricks used by the people in the mansion? How could she be so confused? What a close call. If Roy hadn't come back, her daughter-in-law and her grandson, whom she hadn't met yet, would have died cold. Thinking of this, she felt cold all over. She looked at the doctor with an unfriendly look. After hearing this, the doctor's face changed slightly, and he argued, "I just got lost." "Lost?" Shang Ruo sneered. "Why get lost anywhere else? Why did you have to get lost in my house? Next time, you'd better make a better excuse. You're so old, and the excuses you make up can't even convince a child. If you tell the truth, we may consider letting you go. After all, every grievance has its perpetrator, and I won't make things difficult for you. But if you are so stubborn, I will immediately send you to the government and let the official judge us. At that time, you'll be charged with intentional homicide, 1 life for 1 life, or you'll be beaten half to death and imprisoned in prison for life. It's your choice." Shang Ruai's words were really bluffing. After hearing what she said, the doctor fell to the ground in fear. He couldn't be locked up, let alone die. Otherwise, how would the women in his family survive? He just took in a concubine. Seeing that he had not responded for a long time, Shang Ruai gradually lost her patience and said to Ah Chung, "Send him to the government office." Ah Chung stepped forward and was about to drag him out. The doctor hurriedly said, I'll tell you. Some time ago, someone came to me and asked me to hang around here for the next 2 days. By then, someone from the He family will come to me and ask me to protect the fetus of a pregnant woman. All I have to do is to let them lose both mother and child. He took out a silver note of 100 taels from his arms and handed it to her. That person gave me a silver note. That's it. I don't know anything else. What does the person who came to you look like? The doctor thought for a while and said, He is a man with a burly figure. He doesn't look like someone from our side, but a bit like someone from the western regions. Shang Ruai frowned when she heard this. Could it be that the Dingwa Palace has also made some powerful enemies in the western regions? She asked the secret guards who escorted Hyuni that day, and they were also people from the western regions who were intercepted and killed halfway. Hearing that his words did not seem to be lying, Shang Ruoi had a plan in mind. Miss, please have mercy. I can't go to jail. If I go to jail, my whole family will starve to death. He knelt on the ground, crying, I have told you everything you want to know. Please, let me go. Hee. Shang Ruoi sneered. Why? The lives of your family are lives, but the lives of our He family are not lives? She said angrily. You are a doctor. How can you despise other people's lives so much? With your character, you are not worthy of practicing medicine at all. The doctor heard her say this and felt ashamed. I have no other choice but to do this. The burden on my family is too heavy. Shang Ruoi had no pity in her eyes. I see that the black and blue under your eyes are caused by kidney deficiency. She did not point it out, but the contempt in her words made everyone understand. Everyone looked at him with extremely shameful eyes. Don't you even look at your age? You still indulge in excessive activities. He was furious, and the flattering look on his face just now is gone. You just promise me that as long as I tell you what I know, you will let me go. You can't break your promise. Shang Ruoi smiled. I said I would consider letting you go, but now I have considered it no. She said firmly, people like you should not continue to be doctors. With such a character, I don't know how many lives will be buried in your hands. She waved her hand and Ah Chung stepped forward. Send him to the government.
Yes.
No matter how the doctor shouted, Ah Chung did not let go. Hyuni clapped her hands and cheered. Sister-in-law is awesome. Such a person should not be alive. Shang Ruoi looked at Song Fangji, who was still in a coma lying on the bed, and her heart sank slightly. Things happened to her one after another. How could she, a daughter-in-law who married and later, be targeted? And they all want to get rid of the baby in her belly. What is going on? And there is the Western region. Who did the He family offend in the Western region? It attracted these killers. But now, the most important thing is to find the person who poisoned. She checked the food and bowls used by Tsong Fangji, and there was no poison or things that could harm the fetus. At this moment, a strange fragrance came, and Shang Ruoi looked to the side suddenly. I saw a sachet hanging on the head of her bed, and the strange fragrance came from it. She took the sachet down with a cold face. That's right, it was this sachet that caused her poisoning and miscarriage. A large amount of tan grass was put in this sachet. Tan grass itself is highly poisonous. The smell it emits, if smelled by a pregnant woman, will cause miscarriage within a few days. Judging from the newness of this sachet, it should have been made not long ago. She looked around with a sharp gaze. The person who poisoned must be a member of the He family. In Song's room were gathered together. Shang Ruoi was holding a pink purse in her hand. She looked at the three maids fiercely. Normally, there was only one maid serving in a room, but Song was pregnant, so the old princess specifically instructed to assign 2 more servants. If they were still in the Dinghua Palace, the number of people serving them would have to be multiplied several times. Do you remember the sachet? Shang Yun walked forward, took a look, and said, This was sewed by the young lady a few days ago. It was specially added with albizia flowers, amber, and Schisandra chinensis that can calm the nerves, as well as some spices that she likes to use on a daily basis. Xiang Huan also nodded. After the young lady finished it, she specially asked me to hang it on the head of the bed. Xiang Yu looked at the sachet and frowned slightly. What's wrong? Shang Ruoi asked. Before going to bed today, the young lady asked me to put the sachet away. I put it in the cabinet, and I don't know when it was taken out again. Xiang Yu whispered. The young lady said that she had a headache these 2 days, maybe because of this sachet. There is tan grass in it, and it is natural to have a headache after smelling it for a long time. She can drink some spiritual spring water every day, otherwise she would have been poisoned long ago. Has anyone come in after your young lady's nap? The young lady has been sleeping lightly recently. Before she went to bed, she specifically told the servants not to disturb her, so no one has come in. Shang Yun said softly. The servants were all resting in the lower room. Did anyone leave during this time? Xiangyu shook her head. The servants thought that the young master was about to be born, and we didn't have much money, so we wanted to make some tiger head shoes and a small pillow for the young master. While the young lady was taking a nap, we were doing needlework in the lower room. Shang Ruai looked around the room and found no signs of being searched, which meant that the person who hung up the purse knew where it was placed. Did anyone see you putting the purse away? There were only the young lady and me in the room at the time. As for others, a figure flashed through Xiangyu's mind. It was Aunt Zhao from the first room. Aunt Zhao? What did she do in your young lady's room? Shang Ruai frowned and asked in a deep voice. When talking about this, Xiangyu's face turned slightly red. Aunt Zhao said she had something to ask the young lady. I was listening nearby, and it seemed to be about offspring. Xiangyu said. Aunt Zhao asked the young lady if she had a secret recipe for having children. Lin said angrily, How dare you pass such dirty words to the main wife's room? You have lived in vain at such an old age. She said to the servants outside the door, Bring Aunt Zhao here. The news that Song was poisoned and almost had a miscarriage soon reached the ears of the old princess. She didn't like Aunt Zhao in the first place, and when she heard that this matter might be related to her, she gathered everyone in the main hall. Before leaving, Shang Ruai asked Ah Chung to secretly guard Song's courtyard to prevent anyone from having any bad intentions. Aunt Zhao was brought to the main hall, and she felt a little guilty when she saw the scene in the hall. She bowed slightly. Old madam. The old princess slammed the table fiercely. You evil creature.
Tell me.
Did you poison Feng Ji? Poison? She waved her hands quickly. It's unfair. I didn't poison her. You are the only one who entered Feng Ji's room that day and knew where her purse was. Who else could it be but you? Lin said angrily. Tell me, why did you poison her? Feng Ji has not met you since she joined the He family. What grudge could there be between you? Aunt Zhao's face turned red when she said that, and she shouted, What evidence do you have to prove that I poisoned her? As you said, I have never met her. Why would I harm her? Did you put the tan grass in the purse? Shang Ruai said coldly. What is tan chow? I don't understand. Aunt Zhao looked like she didn't do it, and you are just wronging me. She knelt on the ground with tears in her eyes. I know that I am the only concubine in the He family now, and my status is the lowest, but you can't wrong me just because of this. I have to admit that Aunt Zhao is very beautiful. This tearful look really makes me feel pity. But all the people present were women, so no one would buy her look. Aunt Zhao, you don't have to bring up your status as a legitimate or illegitimate child. When I was still in the palace, others didn't know, but I knew that Dad always gave priority to your courtyard. Every time he came back from the expedition, if there was only one new thing, it would definitely go to your courtyard. My mother and I have never seen it. If my mother really took your status so seriously, you would have been sent to the palace. He pouted and said, I have never seen a person like Aunt who confuses right and wrong. Aunt Zhao wiped her tears and whispered, But I have never done anything poisonous. Aren't you trying to force me to confess? Shang Ruai sneered. Aunt Zhao, do you know what tan chow is? Aunt Zhao shook her head. She really didn't know. Tan grass is a kind of poisonous grass that grows in extremely cold places. It is very toxic. Not to mention eating it, even smelling the scent of tan grass will cause poisoning. This poisonous grass itself has a strange fragrance, which comes from the powder on the poisonous grass. It is difficult to get rid of it after being contaminated. Because of this, the people serving in Fengji's room are more or less contaminated with this smell. Xiangyu and the others smelled themselves, and it seemed that they did have a faint fragrance on their bodies, as the young lady said. Maybe they had smelled it for a long time, so they didn't think it was very obvious. At this time in the main hall, the smell was much more obvious. Shang Ruai looked at Aunt Zhao and saw a trace of panic in her eyes. Shang Ruai knew that her guess was right. What do you say have to do with me? How can it have nothing to do with me? You are not familiar with Feng Ji, or even the entire third house, so why do you smell like tan chow? I went to her room some time ago and asked her if she had any secret recipes for pregnancy and childbirth. Maybe I got it at that time.
Hee hee.
Shang Ruai smiled faintly and looked at her mysteriously. Really? Then why does Aunt Zhao smell stronger than Xiang Yu and the other maids who serve in the room all day?
What?
How is it possible? Aunt Zhao interrupted her hurriedly. I clearly washed my hands. As soon as she finished speaking, she confessed. Aunt Zhao knew that she had said the wrong thing and closed her mouth in dismay. It's really you. Lin stood up, walked up to her, and slapped her twice in the face. We in the third house have no grudges against you. Why are you so cruel? That's not cruel, is it? Shang Ruoi stared at Aunt Zhao's eyes and said slowly, You not only want her to have a miscarriage, but also want He Jingxi to completely lose his qualification to be a father. Lin was stunned when she heard it. What does this mean? Tan grass is not only harmful to pregnant women and fetuses, but men who smell this smell for a long time will also. Shang Ruai didn't finish her words, but everyone could understand. You have such a vicious heart. Lin pointed at her nose and wished she could slap her twice more. What is it for? Lin roared. You vicious woman. Aunt Zhao lowered her head and said nothing. Shang Ruai smiled faintly. I guess it's for property. Aunt Zhao's body stiffened and then slowly slumped down. She looked at Shang Ruai and a bitter smile appeared at the corner of her lips. I didn't expect that a little concubine like you would have so many abilities. Shang Ruai smiled. You are too kind, Auntie. When the old princess heard her say this, she couldn't help but said angrily, how dare you do such a thing? A concubine actually wants to control the heirs of the principal wife, without even considering your own weight. Aunt Zhao, you think that if the two principal wives can't give birth to children, all the family property of the He family will be yours, right? Shang Ruai sneered. I wonder which master gave you the advice? Aunt Zhao shook her head. I thought of it myself. Aunt Zhao, are you trying to deceive me? It has come to this point. If you don't want to implicate others, you'd better tell the truth. Shang Ruai threw the purse at her feet. The tan grass in it is not something you can get. This tan grass grows in the extremely cold land of the western regions. It cannot be seen here at all. Aunt Zhao, where did you get your tan grass? Aunt Zhao's face was tense, her thin lips moved, and she didn't say a word for a long time. At this moment, He Qinian rushed in. He knelt beside her and said in a deep voice, Mother, what are you doing? Why do you poison others? Aunt Zhao saw that her own son said this, and said angrily, Why? Why do you say you are useless? She pushed He Qinian away forcefully. Both are sons of the prince. How come you are so much worse than He Jingheng? She pointed at Lin Xiyu, who was standing at the end of the main hall, and said, Your wife is also a waste. She is not even as good as a concubine's daughter. In this situation today, you still have to look at the face of the main wife. I have planned for you 2 useless things. Mother, didn't I say that you don't need to do this? He Qinian sighed. Aunt Zhao glared at him. What does he know? The old princess snorted coldly. Since you plead guilty, I will punish you according to family rules. She said in a cold voice, Even if the Dinghua Palace no longer exists, the rules left by our ancestors cannot be abolished. Zhao poisoned his descendants. Drag her out and beat her with 50 boards. Lock her up in the woodshed and wait for her to be sold. Hiss. 50 boards. If she is beaten with these boards, let alone being sold, it is not certain whether she will still be alive. Grandmother. He Qinian said hurriedly. Grandmother, Auntie is wrong, but it is not so serious. Please, Grandmother, please give her a lighter sentence for the sake of our past friendship. Not so serious? She poisoned Song and almost killed 2 people. She also poisoned your third brother and almost made him impotent. For every one of these things you tell me that she is not so serious? The old princess was so angry that she slammed the table. If the child of the third room has an accident, will her bones be enough to compensate? The old princess became more and more angry as she spoke. In a rage, she threw the teacup on the table to the ground. Seeing this, everyone lowered their heads and said nothing. Only the shallow breathing of people could be heard in the main hall. Grandmother, if you really want to punish your grandson. He protected Annie Zhao and said earnestly, grandson is willing to be punished. The old lady's face turned ugly when she heard him say this. What is the difference between this and a disguised threat? Thinking of this, the anger on her face became even more intense. For so many years, no one has dared to offend her. The old princess's face was gloomy. If you want to accompany her, go ahead. Shang Ruai watched from the side and saw that Aunt Zhao had a fearless look on her face, and she felt a little uneasy in her heart. How could she survive if 50 boards fell on her? But she didn't seem to care at all. She didn't look like she was ready to die. At this moment, the sound of fighting suddenly came from the backyard. Shang Ruai frowned and quickly went to the backyard. What's going on? The old princess' heart tightened, knowing that something must have happened. When Shang Ruai came to the yard, she saw 2 men in black fighting with Ah Cheng. At this time, both sides were evenly matched, but as the fight went on longer and longer, after all, it was a 1-on-2 fight, and Ah Cheng's physical strength began to fail. The 2 saw Shang Ruai appear outside the yard and slapped him on the chest. Ah Cheng's mouth was bleeding and he fell to the ground. Seeing this, the 2 flew forward and prepared to catch Shang Ruai. At this moment, Shang Ruai pressed the mechanism on her wrist, and dozens of silver needles burst out. They went straight into the bodies of the 2 men. The 2 did not expect that she would use hidden weapons, and they were shot by her for a moment. Feeling their bodies gradually becoming numb, they did not dare to delay and hurriedly flew away. Ah Cheng wanted to chase, but was stopped by Shang Ruai. They were poisoned by me. They can't run away. Girl, these people are all from the western regions. Ah Cheng wiped the blood from the corner of his lips and said in a deep voice, I didn't expect that their martial arts were not bad. I underestimated them. It doesn't matter. She looked solemnly at the direction where the 2 men had just left. If someone is poisoned by her, no one can cure him unless she comes to cure him personally. At this moment, the old princess and others who were waiting in the main hall came to this yard in a large crowd for some reason. Grandma, why are you here? Shang Ruai's eyelids jumped and she asked in confusion. Didn't you send someone to tell us that the main hall is not safe and asked us to come here? Oh no! Lure the tiger away from the mountain. Where are Aunt Zhao and the others? Shang Ruai looked behind the crowd. At this time, where was Aunt Zhao and the others? Who notified you? It's just a maid. She looks unfamiliar, but I didn't think too much about it because I thought she was in our house after all. Lin felt a chill down her spine. They were actually being played around by the enemy in their own house. Shang Ruai's face looked a little ugly.
Who was targeting them?
Now Aunt Zhao and the other 3 are missing. What should we do if they are found? Just then, a servant came to report. Zhao Junyi, Master Zhao is here. What a coincidence. Shang Ruai frowned. Zhao Junyi came just after the 3 men disappeared. Could it be that he heard some rumors? Shang Ruai walked to the door, where Zhao Junyi was guarding with a group of people. Sir Zhao, why are you here today? Zhao Junyi had a slightly flattering smile on his face. I wonder if there is any grain left in Madame Shang's warehouse? Why do you ask this, Sir Zhao? If there is, I want to spend money to buy some.
Buy?
When did Zhao Junyi become so promising? He actually knew how to use money to buy things. The second batch of grain in the greenhouse is grown, and the quality is still top-notch. But it will take some time to harvest. There is still a lot of wheat and corn in the warehouse. I originally wanted to sell it to Manager Lee, but there have been too many things to do, and I didn't have time. There is still some left, but not much. After all, there are many people in our family, and we have to provide food for the workers every day. Shang Ruai's words were full of refusal. How could Zhao Junyi not understand? But now the epidemic is spreading everywhere. Liangzhou City was once used mainly for trading food and grass. Now the whole city is blocked. In addition, due to the severe drought, many places have no harvest. The price of food in their town has increased several times. Even so, the food in many grain shops has been snatched up. After all, compared with starving to death, gold and silver are nothing. If you lose your life, what's the use of so much gold and silver? Only 500 kilograms will be enough. Zhao Junyi's eyes flashed with a trace of calculation. He can only eat 100 to 80 kilograms in a whole winter, and he can sell the rest at a high price, and then he can make a lot of money. How could Shang Ruai not know his thoughts? Smiled and said, Lord Zhao, it's not that I don't want to sell it to you. There are so many people in my He family who need to eat. Now the food in the town is expensive and scarce. If I sell the food to you, what will these people eat? She smiled. It's okay to sell you 50 kilograms, but it won't work if it's more. 50 kilograms? How can 50 kilograms be enough? These 50 kilograms were barely enough for him to eat alone. If that was the case, how could he make a profit from it? He Jinghe has not been caught yet, and the court is extremely dissatisfied with this. If it weren't for me helping you, maybe you would have been beheaded by now. Zhao Junyi snorted coldly. You owe me such a big favor. Don't you even think about paying it back? Shang Ruai couldn't help but sneer in her heart. He helped me? That was really nice. That is really hard work, sir. In that case, I won't charge you for these 50 kilograms of food. I'll give it to you.
This.
Zhao Junyi didn't expect her to say that. At this moment, a yamen runner ran over in a hurry and whispered a few words in his ear. Zhao Junyi's face changed slightly, and he left in a hurry, without saying hello. Shang Ruai came to the granary alone. She waved her hand, and half of the grain in the granary entered her space. It seems that it's time to talk to Manager Li about cooperation. The next morning, she was half asleep when her face suddenly trembled, and she felt a chill beside her. She suddenly opened her eyes and looked at He Jingheng, who was sitting not far from the bed. Then she slowly let down her guard. Why are you back?
She yawned.
Although it was winter, the room was still very warm and Shang Ruai was wearing thin clothes. He Jingheng's eyes sank slightly. What nonsense. The weather is so cold, and you are wearing so little. I'm afraid you will catch a cold. Shang Ruai glanced at him, felt the warmth in the air, and said nonchalantly, Prince, how warm is this room? Can't you feel it? She looked at He Jingheng's slightly pale face and her heart moved. Has your ice bone poison taken effect? He Jingheng nodded slowly. This time the poison took longer than before. Ice bone poison is like this. In the end, the poisoned person will die in the ice. Shang Ruai stood up and was about to get out of bed, but seeing the look in He Jingheng's eyes, she had no choice but to put on an outer robe. After taking the pulse, Shang Ruai said in a deep voice, I didn't expect that the poison would spread so quickly in your body. Is there any way to detoxify? Shang Ruai nodded. The Tianhun grass brought back by your secret guard can help you detoxify, but now is not the best time. The ice bone poison needs to be detoxified when the weather is warm. It is best. It is just the beginning of winter now, and it will take several months for the weather to warm up. According to the current degree of poisoning, it is probably difficult to hold on until then. Shang Ruai looked solemn and whispered, I will try my best to keep you going until then. At this time, the sun shone into the room through the window and fell on He Jingheng's body. He felt that the coldness in his body was slightly relieved. I already know about Aunt Zhao's matter. After a while, He Jingheng's voice came. At this time, his complexion had returned to normal. It seems that she has had second thoughts for more than one day. Shang Ruai asked him about Tsong Fengji's family background again. All these assassinations seemed to be related to her. Shang Ruai felt strange. Who would embarrass a woman for no reason? Could it be related to Tsong Fengji's mother's family? Shang Ruai thought of the fact that Tsong Fengji mistook herself for her mother when she was in a daze. He Jingheng shook his head. He really hadn't investigated Tsong Fengji's mother's family in detail. After breakfast, she went to Tsong Fengji's yard. She had already woken up, but she was still a little tired and lying on the bed. Sister-in-law, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, I and the baby in my belly would never wake up again. Tsong Fengji held her hand with a grateful look on her face. You're welcome. We are a family. Just then, Shang Ruai felt a foreign body in her palm. Her heart skipped a beat, but she didn't show it on her face. After taking her pulse and telling her to have a good rest, she left on the pretext of having something to do. After she left, The smile on Tsong Fengji's face disappeared, and a wave of worry crept onto her face. Shang Ruai returned to the room. At this time, He Jingheng had just fallen asleep. She opened her palm and found a note inside. On it was quietly written the word prisoner. Shang Ruai's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that she was right? At the moment, He Jingheng hadn't gotten up yet. Perhaps the poison consumed too much of his physical strength, so he was sleeping very deeply at this time. She thought about it, called Ah Qing to her side, explained a few words, and then left the He family. After Zhao Junyi left yesterday, she sent someone to pass the message to the town's shopkeeper Li, saying that she had business to discuss with him today. When she arrived in the town, the whole street was much more desolate than usual. Even the people walking in the town were in a hurry. There are sometimes vendors setting up stalls on the roadside, but you hardly see any selling food. It is unknown how long this drought and plague will last. Every family wants to store more food. Shopkeeper Li's grain store has been closed for a long time. There is not a single grain of rice left. The prices of grain stores that are still open have increased by more than 5 or 6 times. The high prices mean that ordinary people cannot afford them except for some wealthy families. Even the cheapest wheat brand is unaffordable. Shang Ruai looked at this bleak scene, and her heart sank slightly. The current situation is still good. When people starve to death here, the plague may begin to spread. Most people couldn't help but sigh and shake their heads when they walked out of the grain store. Seeing this scene, Shang Ruai's heart sank slightly. When Shang Ruai arrived, shopkeeper Li had been waiting for a long time. Seeing Shang Ruai's carriage stop, he hurried to meet her. "My benefactor," shopkeeper Li said with a smile. "I am honored to meet you." "Shopkeeper Li, you are too polite." Shang Ruai smiled. "You look radiant. I guess you have recovered well." "Thank you, Madam Shang." Shopkeeper Li smiled and thanked her sincerely again. "If you hadn't saved me, I would have died long ago. You are my second parent." The two exchanged pleasantries for a while, and Shang Ruai went straight to the point. "I came here today to discuss a business deal with you, shopkeeper." "Please go ahead, young lady." Shang Ruai took out a small bag of wheat and handed it to him. "Shopkeeper Li, take a look. How is this wheat?" Even though shopkeeper Li had been dealing with grain for half his life, he had never seen wheat of such good quality. When he saw the wheat, his eyes widened and he couldn't speak clearly. "Where did you get this wheat, Madam Shang?" "I won it myself." Hearing her say this, shopkeeper Li was even more shocked. This wheat was the most he had ever seen in his life. "Miss, do you have a lot of this wheat?" Shang Ruai nodded. "As much as you want. In addition to wheat, she also has rice and corn in her space, which have matured in batches and piled up into mountains. With the blessing of spiritual spring water, the time required for various crops to mature has been greatly reduced." "Hiss!" Shopkeeper Li was shocked. "As much as you want? This is too outrageous. Is this the business that Madam Shang is talking about?" Shang Ruai nodded. Shopkeeper Li struggled in his eyes. After a moment, he closed his eyes and slowly exhaled. Shang Ruai thought he would agree immediately. Shopkeeper Li's reaction at this time was a little beyond her expectations. After a while, the beautiful shopkeeper opened her eyes and said lightly, "Madam Shang, I am really sorry. Li has his own principles in doing things. I will never do anything to harm the people's money." Shang Ruai was stunned. It took her a while to realize what he meant, and she couldn't help laughing. "Shopkeeper Li, do you think I want to sell these grains at double the price?" Shopkeeper Li was stunned when he heard it. "Aren't you?" Shopkeeper Li looked at her and was shocked. Did he misunderstand her? Shang Ruai waved her hands. "Shopkeeper Li, do you think I am someone who makes a fortune from the national crisis?" Shopkeeper Li's mind moved. "Madam Shang, do you mean you are willing to trade these grains at the usual price?" Shang Ruai nodded. "In addition to wheat, I also have rice and corn, and I am willing to trade them at the original price." Shopkeeper Li was so excited when he heard it. "Thank you, Madam Shang." Shopkeeper Li had a smile on his face. "The quality of the grain that Madam Shang brought is something I have never seen in my life. I will not let you down at this price. Besides, You are my savior, so I will definitely give you the highest price. But I have a request. The smile on Shang Rui's face faded. Don't let others know that I am the one supplying grain to you. Shopkeeper Lee nodded in agreement. As smart as he was, he did not ask the reason. Shang Rui gave him an address. You can go to this place to get the grain later. It's not that she has never thought about opening a grain store in the town, but the output in the greenhouse is always limited. How can she explain the extra grain? At that time, the secret of her space might be exposed, and the gain would be worth the loss. When Shopkeeper Lee came to the place Shang Rui said, he almost dropped his jaw in shock. No wonder she said she would have as much as she wanted. Several warehouses were filled with all kinds of grain. He was holding a corn that was as long as an adult's forearm and was amazed. This corn was so fresh. In the past, most of the corn they collected was dried and hard, and they would grind it into cornmeal after receiving it. Where have you seen so much fresh corn? Smelling the sweet smell coming from it, he wanted to bite it raw. The rice was also full of grains. The quality of these grains was far beyond his expectations. He asked the servant to take the grain back to the shop under the cover of night. Late at night, the rutting sound was very obvious on the quiet street. Many people got up with lights to see what was going on. Many people saw that Manager Lee was leading a very long convoy. Manager Lee, what are you doing in the middle of the night? Manager Lee could not hide his excitement and a long-lost smile on his face. Good news. I got a batch of excellent grain outside the pass. Tomorrow morning, everyone can come to buy it. Enough.
What?
Grain? At this time, the sharp-eyed people had already seen the cloth blown up by the wind. The huge corn came into view. They were shocked. Oh my God! Am I not awake and my eyes are blurry? Is that corn? It seems to be, but it's so big. I have never seen it in my life for more than 70 years. Shopkeeper Lee smiled even more. You are not mistaken, it is corn. When everyone heard him say this, the smiles on their faces disappeared before they could get excited. How much silver does such good food cost per pound? A few days ago, the old rice they bought was several times more expensive than the new rice in previous years. Such a good thing, let alone buying it, they didn't even dare to look at it. Shopkeeper Lee knew their concerns and said with a smile, in our grain shop, all grains are maintained at the original price.
What?
The original price? How is it possible? They all suspected that there was something wrong with their ears. The next morning, just after dawn, a long line formed in front of Shopkeeper Lee's grain shop. Shopkeepers of other grain shops also received the news. Is Mr. Lee crazy? Isn't the price of grain going up?
Yes.
The servant who went to get the news wiped the sweat from his forehead. Not only that, the quality of the grain is absolutely top-notch. I have never seen such good rice. He sold all his grain. Where did he get all this from? I don't know either. The servant thought for a while and said, but I heard that last night, more than a dozen horse-drawn carriages went back and forth on the street countless times. Are you sure it's transporting grain? Shopkeeper Zhao said in surprise, that's thousands of stones of grain. Where did Lee get it from? He put down the tea in his hand, got up and walked out. No, I have to go and see for myself what he is up to. If he got so much grain, then they wouldn't be able to sell it at a good price. The grain shop owners, headed by Shopkeeper Zhao, gathered together. Are you sure? It's really grain? Shopkeeper Zhao nodded. Of course, I see it piled up like a mountain, wheat, rice, and extremely rare fresh corn. Where did he get them all from? He was really puzzled. Not only that, he hasn't raised the price. So far, I haven't sold a single bean in my shop. This Lee has always been unsociable. Some time ago, we all raised the price, but he said he had a conscience and refused to raise the price. Huh, conscience, don't we have a conscience enough? A grain shopkeeper said, we only raised the price 5 times, while other towns and villages raised it 8 or 10 times. That's right, only Lee said that we made money from the national crisis. What's wrong with making money from the national crisis? As long as I can make money and earn money, I don't care whether it's a national crisis or something else. His words made many shopkeepers nod their heads frequently. Yes, what's wrong with making money from the national crisis? If we don't make money now, Do we have to wait until the plague is over? What kind of wealth will we make by then? Others eat meat and drink soup, but they can't even see any meat scraps or meat. In a person's life, there may be only this one opportunity. If you seize it, you can soar to the sky. If you don't seize it, you deserve to fall into the quagmire. Shopkeeper Zhao smiled and said, "It's not difficult to solve the current predicament. Please give me some advice, Shopkeeper Zhao. We can have someone buy out everything in his warehouse, and when it comes back to us, he will be left with nothing, and who knows where he will regret it." Shopkeeper Zhao's words drew many applause. Regret medicine? If I'm right, he will have to drink heading hong. At this time, Shopkeeper Li's shop was packed with people, and people from the whole town came to buy food. Shopkeeper Li, you are still conscientious. There are so many shops in our town, but your food is the cheapest, just like before. An old man stepped forward and said with a little excitement, "Thanks to you. Otherwise my family would have starved to death." This old man was a regular customer of the grain store. He had been buying food here for more than 20 years. Shopkeeper Li smiled and said, "How can it be my credit? It is thanks to the person who provided me with the food." She did not want to reveal her name, so I was able to do such a great good deed. Immeasurable merit, immeasurable merit. The person who was arranged by Shopkeeper Zhao to purchase came back and whispered, "Shopkeeper, it's not possible. In his shop, each person can only buy a pound of rice and wheat and 6 corns a day. Apart from that, not a grain of rice can be bought." Shopkeeper Zhao frowned and said angrily, "Didn't you say that I am willing to pay twice the price and buy all of them?" "I did." But Shopkeeper Li got even angrier after hearing this. He asked me to get out quickly and also asked me to bring you a message, say. Shopkeeper Zhao heard this and slammed the table hard. "What are you talking about? Hurry up. I'm trying to persuade you not to waste your energy. If you make money in national calamity, you will suffer retribution." Hearing this, Manager Zhao narrowed his eyes slightly. It seemed that the man surnamed Li was determined. In this case, don't blame yourself for being cruel. Shang Ruai was thinking about Song Fengji's matter, so she didn't go to the milk tea shop, but returned to the He family. Shang Ruai came to her yard. When Song Fengji saw her coming, she hurriedly invited her into the room. Song Fengji dismissed the servants and closed the door tightly. Seeing her so cautious and anxious, Shang Ruai asked in a low voice, "What's wrong? What happened?" Song Fengji cried and took out a broken jade pendant and a letter from her arms. "This is my father's jade pendant. Some time ago, I woke up in the middle of the night one day, and the jade pendant and the letter were placed beside my bed." Shang Ruai unfolded the letter and saw the content on it. Shang Ruai's eyes dimmed slightly. The letter said that she must find the ring of the Dingwa Palace within half a year, otherwise the 40-odd members of her Song family would be uprooted, and even her niece, who is still in her infancy, would not be able to escape. After it is found, someone will come to take it. It seems that there are still many spies in this palace. Shang Ruai sighed and said softly, "So you suspect that this poisoning is a warning from that person to you?" Song Fengji nodded. "Aunt Zhao must have been bribed by them, so she poisoned me, and the previous poisoning must have been their warning to me. Sister-in-law, it doesn't matter if I die, but I can't ignore the child in my belly and the lives of dozens of people in my Song family." Shang Ruai patted her arm and comforted her. "Let's find a way together." She looked at Song Fengji, her eyes flashed. "I really want to help you, but that ring was stolen by He Jinghe. For this, He Jinghe is also very anxious, but what's the use of being anxious? We don't even know where he went." After listening to this, Song Fengji's eyes fell even more fiercely. "What can we do?" She thought about it and suddenly asked, "Could it be that the ring was not lost at all? Was it hidden by my uncle? How is this possible?" Shang Ruai said in a low voice, "Others may not know about the ring, but I know it clearly. Ever since the ring was lost, your uncle seemed not to care on the surface, but in fact, he was furious. But I've never seen him get anxious and angry about the ring." Shang Ruai sighed. "I heard him say that the ring was a symbol of the Dingwa Palace and was passed down by the first generation of Duke Dingwa. It didn't have any special meaning. Now that the Dingwa Palace no longer exists, the ring is just a souvenir. I don't know if these people are bored and have nothing to do, and always think that the ring has some extraordinary meaning. Song Fangji fell silent after hearing her say that. If this ring really had some meaning, the Dingwa Palace wouldn't have become what it is today. Shang Ruai shook her head and sighed. I have been destined to be a hard worker in this life. It's fine that I didn't have a good life in the Prime Minister's mansion, but I thought I could live a leisurely life after marrying him. I didn't expect that my life would be even harder than before. Song Fangji looked sad. Then my father and them. Relax, let me think of a way. We are in the far north now, out of reach. Even if we want to help, we are powerless. What's more, the power of the Dingwa Palace is not as strong as before. Shang Ruai whispered. For now, we should try our best to find He Jinghe. That's the only way. Song Fangji touched her slightly bulging belly and said softly, I don't care, but it's hard for the child in my belly. He has to suffer with me and has been poisoned before he was born. Shang Ruai smiled. Good people have their own blessings. He will be born smoothly. Shang Ruai left Song Fangji's yard and returned to her own yard with a serious face to tell He Jinghe about the matter. He Jinghe's face sank slightly. This man is very capable. He can put the letter and jade pendant on her bedside without alerting the secret guards. This is not something that ordinary people can do. I will pay attention to this matter and send someone to investigate. Shang Ruai held the ring in her hand and said with a smile, What is the use of this thing? Why does it attract so many people to come and go? Didn't I say it? This is the symbol of the Dingwa Palace. He Jinghe looked at her. I have handed over the lives and property of everyone in the Dingwa Palace to you. Shang Ruai rolled her eyes at him and smiled. Since so many people want it, why don't we mass-produce some?
Huh.
Shang Ruai smiled. It is better to share happiness with others than to enjoy it alone. Since everyone wants it, let's have one. He Jinghe's eyes lit up. This is really a good idea. Sometimes, no one can tell the real from the fake, and everyone thinks that what others have is the real thing. At that time, they will fight each other, and you will benefit from it. It's wonderful. The grain sales in the town are still in full swing. Shopkeeper Li is so busy all day that he doesn't even have time to drink water. Shopkeeper Zhao and his men tried many ways, but they were unable to get the grain out of his warehouse. What should we do? Why don't we set a fire and burn down his grain warehouse?
No.
One of the shopkeepers said in a deep voice, We are only after money, but we can't do such an immoral thing. That's grain. If we burn it, we will be punished by God. Hearing what he said, those people didn't know what to say. Shopkeeper Zhao thought for a while and said in a low voice, If you can't think of any way, just disperse. At most, we can adjust the price back. I don't think it's necessary. Could it be that the Li family has an endless supply of grain? When he sells all the grain, won't this place be our world again? Everyone thought what he said made a lot of sense. At this time, a servant from an unknown family ran up, panting heavily. Shopkeeper, the Li family grain store has received another batch of grain. I think it's much more than before.
What?
They almost fell down in one breath. Where did he get it from? Shopkeeper Zhao's eyes were fierce. I didn't expect him to be so hidden. Shopkeeper Zhao, what should we do? What should we do? Shopkeeper Zhao snorted coldly. Since we are going to cut off our livelihood, we don't need to show any mercy. What is heaven's punishment? I only recognize money. Hearing him say this, they knew Shopkeeper Zhao's decision. Although they were a little afraid of the idea of heaven's punishment, as long as they could make money, what did heaven's punishment matter? The government naturally knew about Shopkeeper Li's big move. Zhang Wenyu listened to the report from his servants and said in a deep voice, Send someone to follow him and see where the grain comes from. Sir, do we need to bring him here for interrogation? Stupid. He didn't commit any crime. What reason do I have to bring him here? Zhang Wenyu glared at him. Send someone to keep an eye on his movements and see where the grain is transported from. Li's grain store is completely famous in Qingzhou. Not only do people in the town come here to buy grain, but even people from other towns and counties drive ox carts to buy it. The prices of other grain stores in the town have fallen, but no one is interested, not only because the prices here are cheap, but they can't get used to eating anything else after eating the grain here. Manager Lee, where did you get this grain from? I have lived for most of my life and have never eaten such sweet and soft rice. Mr. Tion is one of the richest families in the town. He said this, which shows how delicious this rice is. Thank you for the compliment. Shopkeeper Lee smiled naively. To be honest, I bought these grains from somewhere else. The family that sold the grains didn't want to reveal their identities, otherwise it wouldn't be my turn to do such a good thing. What a righteous man. Master Tian glanced at the Zhao family's grain store not far away and spat. At night, several men in black shuttled through the streets. Taking advantage of the night, they came to the backyard of Lee's grain store. He took out a tinder from his arms, a trace of ferocity flashed in his eyes, and threw it into the warehouse where grain was piled. Just when the man thought he had succeeded, a figure came out and stepped on the tinder to extinguish it. The next moment, 6 or 7 men surrounded the men in black. You guys. Before the men in black could finish speaking, several guards rushed up and beat them up. Not long after, Shopkeeper Lee came out. His face was gloomy. He didn't expect that what Madame Shang said was really right. Before leaving that day, Shang Ruai reminded him, "You must be on guard against others. If he does this now, many people will definitely be dissatisfied and may even think about his granary." At first, he didn't take it to heart, but he always felt uneasy when he thought about it. Fortunately, he listened to what Shang said, otherwise, wouldn't his full warehouse of grain be burned? He walked forward angrily, and when he saw the faces of the arsonists, he recognized 2 of them as servants from other granaries in the town. He couldn't help but get angry. This is grain. They are selling grain themselves. How can they do such a heartless thing? Aren't they afraid of retribution? The next morning, Shopkeeper Lee sent these people to the government. Before those servants were beaten, they confessed who their masters were. When Shopkeeper Zhao got the news, the shopkeepers who sent people to set fire had already been arrested. "Boss, those people won't betray you, will they?" Boss Zhao sneered. "What does this have to do with me?" He drank tea calmly. "I just provided them with an idea. I didn't ask them to set the fire. Those idiots, just a little mention, they couldn't hold back and sent people to set the fire. They are stupid themselves, can they blame others?" A hint of success flashed across Boss Zhao's face. "What the shopkeeper means is..." Haha, Shopkeeper Zhao Fu smiled. "People in the same industry are enemies. We now have a common enemy. We can maintain an alliance for the time being. Once Lee's grain store collapses, we will become opponents again. Only by defeating his opponent can he truly dominate the market. When he is the only grain store in the town, will he still worry about not making money?" The servant did not understand what he meant and scratched his head. "Shopkeeper, so, what are you going to do next?"
What?
"Nothing." Zhao Fu sneered and waited to see how the government would punish him. As for Lee's grain store, it would not last long. He offended so many grain stores and he didn't need to do anything at all. Someone would take care of him. Due to the famine, Shang Ruai's milk tea shop was also greatly affected. These days can be said to be extremely bleak, and only a few cups can be sold all day. Shang Ruai simply closed the door. It seems that this shop does not need to be opened before the plague and famine are over. Not only her, at least 80% of the shops in the town were closed. Some of the shops that were not closed were all related to people's livelihood. The only one that was not affected was Xia Village. Most of the people here worked for the He family and had 2 meals a day and were full. They naturally knew about the famine. If it were in the past, most of the people here would starve to death. But now, they don't worry about food and drink at all. Those who didn't go to work for the He family before were all worried. That day, Wang Erju came to Shang Ruai with some embarrassment and scratched his head for a long time. "What's the matter?"
Shang Ruai asked.
"Boss, there is something I want to discuss with you," Wang Erju said hesitantly.
"You say."
"My neighbor, named Ma Wu, is also my wife's cousin. He has been asking me to help him find a job these days. Hearing that I am capable here, He also wants to come to work. His face flushed, and he said very embarrassedly, I know that food is tight now, and it is not easy for the boss to continue to provide us with food and drink. But he goes to my house and knocks on the door every day, which is really annoying, so I thought of coming here to ask, do you still need help? Whether you need it or not, I can reply him. Shang Ruai saw Wang Erju's embarrassment. She thought that the man must have said a lot in front of him. Since he is his brother-in-law, his wife might also help persuade him. So he had to come to her. In that case, let him come. I see there is a vacancy at the gatehouse, so let him stay there. Yes, yes. Thank you, boss. Wang Erju got her nod, and the big stone in his heart finally fell to the ground. His face was filled with a bright smile. When he returned home tonight, he could give his wife an explanation. The next morning, Ma Wu followed Wang Erju to the He family. Since Shang Ruai had agreed yesterday, Wang Erju took him to the gatehouse. There was not much work in the gatehouse, but he just had to let the police know when someone came. The wages were not bad, and he could get 2 meals. On weekdays, everyone was vying to do this job. But in winter, it was not as good as in the greenhouse. The temperature in the greenhouse was high, and it was enough to wear thin clothes. There was only a small charcoal basin in the gatehouse. This winter was particularly cold. If he didn't wear a cotton jacket, he would probably get a cold. Ma Wu shivered with cold just after standing for a while. He thought about it and went directly to the greenhouse to find Wang Erju. As soon as he entered the greenhouse, a warm feeling came over him, and his body, which had been shivering with cold just now, instantly warmed up. He couldn't help but brighten up. How great is this? Isn't it better to work here than to be frozen like a grandson outside? Brother-in-law, can you please tell the boss that I want to work here? The gatehouse is too cold. It's not suitable for people to stay here. Woozy, the boss doesn't need people. It's good enough to arrange you here, so don't be picky. If the boss gets angry and doesn't let you work here, what will you do? How will your family survive this winter? Brother-in-law, didn't you say that you are good here? It's just a change of job. How can it be as difficult as you say? At this moment, Shang Ruai walked in. What's wrong? Wang Erju heard her voice and hurried to greet her. Boss. Shang Ruai knew everyone working here. When she saw a new face, she knew that it was Wang Erju's brother-in-law. What happened? Wang Erju sighed. Before he could speak, Ma Wu stepped forward and said, Boss, I'm Ma Wu. I just arrived today. I want to work in this greenhouse. When Ma Wu saw Shang Ruai for the first time, he was amazed by her appearance. He thought he was very handsome. In Xia village, many unmarried girls wanted to marry him, so he was very confident to show himself in front of Shang Ruai. If he didn't look at her with such disgusting eyes, Shang Ruai might agree. We are not short of manpower in the He family. If Wang Erju hadn't come to me, I would never keep you. If you think the work of the gatehouse is not good, then go home directly. Shang Ruai's words made Ma Wu very dissatisfied, but he didn't dare to say anything for fear that he would really be driven home. He had no choice but to hastily salute and turn around to leave the greenhouse. Wang Erju bowed his hands in embarrassment and apologized. Boss, Ma Wu is ignorant. Please don't be angry. Shang Ruai did not respond, but just looked at the maturity of the crops and left. Wang Erju was afraid that his job would be ruined, so he was very careful all day. When he returned home in the evening, as soon as he entered the door, he heard Ma Wu complaining to his wife in his home. Sister, didn't you say that your brother-in-law is very capable in the Nahe family? How come you dare not even in front of the boss? You can't even do such a small thing as changing shifts. Sister, talk to your brother-in-law again in the evening and ask him to guard the door for me. I will stay in the greenhouse. At this moment, Wang Erju walked in with a sullen face.
How dare you say that?
There are so many people who want the job of a janitor, but you actually asked for it in front of the boss today. If the boss gets angry, not only you but also I will have to leave. Wang Erju said angrily, if you can guard this door, then guard it. If you can't, just get out of here. Your family will starve to death, but don't come to me. Ma Wu heard him say that, and his voice was even louder than his. Brother-in-law, how can you say that? It's just that you helped me find a job as a janitor, just like I owe you a lot of money. He stood up, patted the dirt on his body, took 2 steamed buns from the table, and pouted. You are a son-in-law. What qualifications do you have to shout here? After that, he turned and left. Wang Erju was so angry that he almost went up to beat him up. His wife hurriedly stopped him. Wu Zi is like this, don't argue with him. If he wants to go to the greenhouse, you can find a chance to let him in.
Get in?
Wang Erju looked at his wife and said angrily, he has offended the boss today. Am I crazy enough to run into the edge of a knife? He pointed at the steamed buns on the table and sighed. If I am driven back by the boss because of Ma Wu, let alone the steamed buns, I am afraid we can only eat northwest wind. Hearing him say this, she stopped talking. Ma Wu returned home, looked at the simple meals on his dining table, and then looked at the steamed buns in his hand, and couldn't help feeling resentful. Tianshun's famine has not been resolved yet, and Liangzhou City has received bad news again. Dr. Jiang can't stop the spread of the epidemic. Now in the whole Liangzhou City, the number of bodies burned every day is too many to count. Emperor Tianshun smashed countless rare porcelain in the imperial study. During the morning court session, someone reported, Your Majesty, it is said that a miracle doctor named Ling Jun appeared in Qingzhou. Rumor has it that she cured the plague in a county in Qingzhou. Oh, is this true? Emperor Tianshun was suffering from a lack of solutions, but he did not expect that a miracle doctor who could cure the plague would appear. Although it is a folk rumor, I sent people to investigate, and it is true. Although the miracle doctor is young, she is indeed a superb doctor. Emperor Tianshun was very pleased and immediately sent people to Qingzhou to find Lingjun, saying that as long as she could solve the problem of the plague, she would be rewarded heavily. He Jingheng received the message from the 4th prince and frowned when he looked at the contents of the note. He did not expect that even the miracle Dr. Jiang was helpless against the plague. Shang Rui whispered, If you want to solve this plague in addition to my pills, I need to go to Liangzhou City in person. Go to Liangzhou City? He Jingheng stopped her immediately. No, the epidemic in the city is so serious. How can you take the risk? Absolutely not. Although I don't know what the significance of Liangzhou City is to your Dinghua Palace as a doctor, I can't stand by and watch someone die. She had heard that the divine Dr. Jiang would go to treat the patient, so she didn't say much. Now it seems that she has to go in person. Seeing that she was determined, He Jingheng sighed. Do you know how dangerous Liangzhou City is now? It's just a plague. What's there to be afraid of? Early the next morning, Shang Rui set out for Liangzhou City. The 4th prince didn't know Shang Rui's identity. When the servant reported that a man named Lingjun was coming, he hurried to the city gate and greeted him in person. Divine Dr. Lingjun, I have heard of your great name for a long time. I am the 4th Prince Healingqi. Shang Rui was stunned when she saw his dress. This prince seemed a little too approachable. I am Lingjun, a humble servant. I am honored to meet the 4th prince. Stand up. Healingqi stepped forward and said with a smile, I heard that Master Lingjun had cured the plague in Qingzhou, so I specially invite you to come and help. Shang Rui followed him into Liangzhou City. Her brows furrowed. The scene here was similar to what she had imagined. The streets were empty at this time, and Liangzhou City at this time was like a dead city. We will gather the people here in the north of the city, and those who are not sick will be gathered in the south of the city. Shang Rui nodded. Effective isolation does help control the epidemic. They walked for a while, and the 4th prince whispered, The epidemic area is not far ahead. At this moment, a familiar figure appeared in front of Shang Rui. Shang Nian came over with a dusty face. Shang Rui was still wearing a mask at this time. She was not worried that her scumbag father would recognize her. After all, he had never stayed with her for more than 10 years. As expected, after Shang Nian's eyes swept over her, he respectfully saluted the 4th prince. Although he was on the side of the crown prince was still the crown prince after all, and had not yet become the emperor. How could Shang Nian, this old fox, put all his hopes on the crown prince? 4th prince this is divine Dr. Lingjun. From now on, The entire epidemic area must obey the command of divine Dr. Lingjun. The fourth prince said loudly, "No one can disobey. But divine Dr. Jiang." Before Shang Nian could finish, the fourth prince said in a deep voice, "Even divine Dr. Jiang must listen to Master Lingjun."
Yes.
Shang Rui walked into the epidemic area and saw many people lying in it in a mess. She frowned. "It looks like there are thousands or tens of thousands of people here. All of them have the plague?" Just then, Dr. Jiang came over with a gloomy face. He recognized Lingjun, who embarrassed him in front of Shan Hung at a glance. "What are you doing here?" Shang Rui just thought his question was a little funny. "I came here to travel around." She sneered. Dr. Jiang choked, knowing that she was mocking him, but it was not easy to get angry in front of the fourth prince. Just then, Shang Nian stepped forward. The two doctors know each other. Shang Rui glanced at him. "I'm not here to recognize my relatives." After saying that, she walked straight inside. Seeing that there was even a baby lying on the ground, she couldn't help but feel distressed. She opened the medicine box, took out a pill from it, put it into the child's mouth, and dripped a few drops of spiritual spring water into his mouth. The pill melted in the mouth, and even an unconscious person could swallow it. Dr. Jiang walked behind her, and seeing her movements, he said in a cold voice, "What did you give her?"
Poison.
Shang Rui glanced at him. "Dr. Jiang, the fourth prince invited me to Liangzhou City. Are you guarding against me like this? Are you afraid that I might do something here to hinder you?" She looked at Dr. Jiang, and the corners of her lips slightly raised. "Or are you afraid that the news that your medical skills are not good enough will be leaked out?" Nonsense. Although I dare not claim that my medical skills are unparalleled, there are few rivals in Tianshan. Dr. Jiang's beard was about to fly up, and he said angrily, "You little kid, don't think you are great just because you cured the young master of the Qiao family. Then what are you worried about?" Shang Rui sneered. "Dr. Jiang, instead of keeping an eye on me, you should go and treat a few more patients. I heard that before Dr. Jiang came, the number of people who died from the plague in Liangzhou City doubled. I don't know why." Dr. Jiang heard that his old face turned black. What she said was indeed the truth. At this moment, the breathing of the baby, who had just been fed spiritual spring water and pills by Shang Rui, was obviously much more stable. Dr. Jiang saw this scene and couldn't help but be secretly surprised. Who exactly is this Master Lingjun? Plague is not like other diseases. It can be fatal at any time. He has never seen the effect in such a short time in his life. Dr. Jiang looked at her with a very heavy gaze. If this person stood in front of him, wouldn't all his original plans be ruined? Not only Dr. Jiang noticed the changes in the baby, but even He Lingqi and Shang Nian noticed it. Shang Nian couldn't help but exclaimed, "Miracle! Miracle!" "Shut up." Shang Rui gave him a cold look. "What are you shouting? You scared me. You are the only one who has a mouth, right? Miracle, miracle. Are you blind? This is clearly the effect of the pill. How can it be a miracle?" Shang Nian is the prime minister and has been in office for many years. Except for the masters in the palace, who would not be respectful when seeing him. Who would dare to talk to him like this? Now in Liangzhou City, a small doctor dared to talk to me in such a scolding tone. Who gave her the confidence? His eyes were slightly fierce, and just when he was about to show his identity as the prime minister, Shang Rui said coldly, "Prime Minister, block the light." Shang Nian was so angry that his beard could not stop shaking. "You!" Shang Nian pointed at her and said, "You unruly brat, I don't want to bother with you, but you are taking advantage of me, right?" Shang Rui's lips curled up slightly under the mask. "Are you angry already?" "Prime Minister Shang, I am only speaking the truth. The position where you are standing does block the light. If you feel that I cannot cure you well, you can do it yourself." After she finished speaking, she stood up, dusted off the dust on her body, and looked at Shang Nian's funny outfit, and could not help but sneer. Shang Nian's nose was wrapped in 3 layers of white silk cloth inside and outside. The silk cloth was coated with Jiangshan doctor's medicine, which could minimize the risk of infection with the plague. Since this kind of powder was limited, Only a small number of officials and yamen runners could use it, and the people of Liangzhou City could not use it at all. Prime Minister, you really value your life. The people can't use it, but you wish you could immerse your whole body in the powder. Shang Ruoyi rolled her eyes at him and sneered. It is said that the current emperor is diligent in his work and loves the people, but I see that Prime Minister Shang, who is the emperor's right-hand man, has not learned a single bit of it. You little stinky boy, you are full of nonsense and you are a miracle doctor. Is this the kind of family education you have? Family education? Her scumbag father actually discussed tutoring with her? There is such a thing as tutoring in the Shang mansion? She has never heard of it in the past 10 years in the Shang mansion. However, since it comes to this, she really wants to talk to him. Her hands did not stop the treatment. Without raising his eyelids, he sneered and said, I wonder where the high position of Shang Xiangye came from? Shang Nian was slightly stunned. What do you mean? I thought Shang Xiangye was a smart man, but I didn't expect that he couldn't even understand the sentence. Shang Ruoyi followed the same method and fed the spiritual spring water and pills into the mouth of an adult, staring at the man's face intently. I heard that Shang Xiangye married the daughter of a wealthy businessman a few years ago. This was the first time Shang Ruoyi mentioned her mother in front of him. Shang Nian was stunned at first, then he realized what she was talking about, and his face suddenly became ugly. Shang Ruoyi sneered. Could it be that the Prime Minister is from a scholarly family? You are still talking about family education here. You even exchanged your official position for the wealth of your concubine's mother's family. Not only that, you didn't treat her well and let her die of illness.